Hokage give me a face. Bleach. Chapter 21-40. Chapter 21 report to old man Yamamoto. She actually said that I'm just a classmate. It's too much to kiss. Yizan touched his lips. The soft touch had not completely disappeared. He has already come out of Bashin Ryoko's house, and is on his way to Jingling Court. It's not that he doesn't want to do more and tease the girl, but he molested too much and was kicked out by the girl. It's not like I like it very much, really. Yizan shook his head helplessly, and out of the corner of the eye glanced at the two gods of death in front of him, the two weak chickens just now. Yo, where are you patrolling? Yizan greeted him casually, thinking in his heart. No wonder the death rate is so high when the god of death is so high. This kind of weak chicken can be released, it's strange that it doesn't die. It was the one just now. The two of them glanced at the school uniform on Yizan's body and recognized him. Thank you just now. This thank you, Yizan could hear some indescribable feelings. Of course, as the official death gods, they can't even compare with a student who is still in school, which is shameful enough. What grade are you in? It's so good now, but it will be incredible in the future. That's the bright compliment of the 750. For this kind of compliment, it may still be very useful. He asks and nods, and counts a phrase that can make them less exciting. 5th grade. 5th grade, I'll tell you. The taller man patted Yizan's shoulder familiarly. Then you will be in the 6th grade next semester. Can you participate in the internship? Come to our team. I like you very much. Yi Xuanzhang looked at him with a fascination. No, it's the 5th grade next semester. So, the two mysteriously fell silent. Yizan, be silent. I haven't said that I am still in 1st grade this semester. Sure enough, there is a generation gap between geniuses and mortals. Seeing the lost backs of the two drifting apart, Yizan felt countless emotions in his heart. Back at Jingling Court, he went to the dormitory to get his own line of Li, and went to Yamamoto Shigekuni with a lot of money. Yes, he was going to receive Yamamoto Shigekuni's training this holiday. Goal is Zanpakuto. But what's the situation now? Yizan looked at the fancy Jingle Chunchui. Could it be that old man Yamamoto isn't there? I heard that the master said another little apprentice, so I came here to see. Jingle Chunchui smiled. So it's you. The captain of the 8th division, Jingle Chunchui. Yizan raised his eyebrows. That should be the captain of the 13th division, Shishiro Yukitaki. Shiro Yukitaki, who was sitting quietly beside him, nodded to Yizan. I heard that you like our little Lisa. Jingle Chunchui approached Yizan. Will you come to our 8th division after graduation? If you let me be the captain. Yizan chuckled. Although Yizan scolded him like this, Jingle Chunchui was not angry, but sighed and said to Shiro Yukitaki, I'm just talking about it. The children these days are really very temperamental. What a great temper. I believe in my own strength. However, these two seem to be the disciples of old man Yamamoto. Wouldn't that be my brother? Shiruro Yukitaki's low keenness will not be mentioned. An uncle like Jingle Chunchui who likes to wear a pink yuhi coat will make a strange flower that makes people throw petals on the roof on a whim. Yizan shuddered, feeling that he must keep a distance from Jingle Chunchui in the future. This strange aesthetic must not be affected. Since I've seen it, I'll go first. Shiro Yukitaki said to Jingle Chunchui, if you come out for too long, the deputy team will be worried. By the way, this one also has a frail and sickly character. Yizan looked at him dumbfounded. Thinking about it this way, old man Yamamoto's apprentices are very strange. No, this is absolutely unacceptable. After all, I am also his apprentice now. Then go ahead and be careful on the road. Jingle Chunchui nodded to the floating bamboo. Little brother Yizan, I will take care of you in the future. Care. A flash of light flashed in Yizan's mind. That's right, I just happen to have something to ask you. What? Give Miss Lisa a break. Jingle Chunchui was taken aback for a moment, then an expression of interest appeared on his face. Dating? No, it's to thank her for introducing me and Zaragi Kenpachi into Mao. and I want to invite her to a meal. We have already agreed on this, as long as you agree, that's fine. Yizan said here, only to realize that he seems to forgot Zaragi Kenpachi at school. Come back later. At this time, Kenpachi's Akagi, who was sitting in the dormitory, said, where did you get it? It's not impossible, Jingle Chunshui said with a smile, the reason is also very good. Yizan, then agree. But it will take another day to eat a meal. Let's go shopping by the way. Yizan glanced at him. No wonder he's an old bachelor who doesn't even understand this. Do you have to let people say it outright? Of course, we want to go out for a meal together, and then get rid of the fool of Kenpachi on the way, and live a beautiful two-person world. Walking hand in hand through the streets of the Edo period, under the orange lights. Yizan stopped his divergent brain holes. In a word, that's what it is anyway. It's enough that you understand and I understand, why do you have to tell me? 3 or 2 sentences blocked Jingle Chunshui's next words, and Yizan looked around. Old man Yamamoto said that I came here, why is he still missing? Said Cao Cao arrived. As soon as Yizan finished speaking, Yamamoto Shigekuni came in from outside. He looked at Jingle Chunshui not very unexpectedly, and said, I remember you said some time ago that there were not enough people in the team. I'm just curious, come and see the little junior brother. Jingle Chunshui smiled awkwardly. Fuju was there just now. Yizan, right. If that's the case, why is the floating bamboo gone and you're still here? Yamamoto Shigekuni glanced at Jingle Chunshui, saw his embarrassed expression, and a smile flashed in his eyes. Since I've seen it, what else is going on now? No more. After Jingle Chunshui finished speaking, she turned to leave. Her back was indescribably lonely and bleak. Chapter 22-Dating and Missing. Brother, I thought you were missing. Zengmu Kenpachi finally let out a sigh of relief when Yizan came out. Where are we going during the holiday? Will you be in the 80th district? Of course not. Yizan smiled slightly. You come with me, we have a place to go. After Zaraki Kenpachi listened to it, he didn't ask any more questions. He had no purpose. Yizan would go wherever he said. As long as there was a fight, it would be fine. By the way, I'm going to invite Lisa Yahomaru to dinner tomorrow. When that time comes, you'll be a few steps behind us when you leave, so come back first when you see the time, understand Tilda. As Yizan walked, he explained to Kenpachi's Akagi, thinking that this guy has a bell to the end, he might not understand it if he didn't explain it, and he might not understand the word, timing, so he explained it profoundly, the word meaning. The so-called timing that is, you have to slowly fall behind. When Liza Yahomaru didn't notice you, there is an alley next to you at this time, you just walk in. Or crossroads, we turn left, then you turn right. Then we separate, and you come back on your own. Simple, right? Zaraki Kenpachi nodded. Okay, I will definitely come back by myself at the right time. Yizan nodded with satisfaction, feeling that he must be foolproof this time. Lisa. Under the bright moonlight, Yizan carried the small spherical lantern he bought at the stall. This is for you. What are you giving me this for? Lisa Yahomaru said, but her hand automatically took the lantern in Yizan's hand. I saw that everyone else had them, so I bought one. Yizan smiled lightly and pointed to a couple not far away. Yahomaru Liza lowered her head, revealing her snow-white neck. When she came to the appointment today, she tied her hair up. Although she didn't admit it, she still attached great importance to today's appointment. Zaraki Kenpachi is gone, does it matter? It's okay, he's such a big man, can he still get lost? Yizan saw her performance and knew that she was already interested in him. In this world, there has never been a woman he can't catch up with. I'm glad that Miss Lisa can come to the appointment today. Yizan continued, actually, I asked Kenpachi to leave early because I wanted to be alone with Miss Lisa. Lisa Yahomaru raised her head and looked at Yizan in surprise, and then she seemed to think of something, and a complicated look flashed in her eyes. I like Miss Lisa, Yizan said when she was caught off guard. Although it may be a bit abrupt to say that, it is true. From the first time I met Miss Lisa, I fell in love with you at first sight. Yizan paused, did not get a response, and couldn't help sighing. Gaolang girls are really not easy to chase, so let's stop them today. It's getting late, I'll take Miss Lisa back. We are too different in age. Lisa Yahomaru said, you are still in school. There are doors. It turned out to be concerned about age. But I like this feeling of youth. I think age doesn't matter at all for the soul. I'll be graduating from Shino soon. Will Miss Lisa accept my pursuit? This kind of thing, I'll talk about it later. Yahomaru Liza looked away awkwardly, even if she didn't answer the question directly. The next day. Yizan looked at the empty house opposite, turned left when he went out, and the courtyard was empty. No way. An ominous foreboding came to mind. If I remember correctly, that guy Zakagi Kenpachi seems to be a real idiot. The one that doesn't contain any moisture. In a place as big as Runlanan, can that guy get lost? No matter what, you can find it by looking at the jingling court fence, right? Anyway, I haven't heard of Zaraki Kenpachi disappearing because of getting lost. Where's your friend? Yamamoto Shigekuni looked at Yizan, who appeared on the practice ground alone. I got lost when I went out for a drink yesterday. Yizan shrugged, helpless. In addition to being strong in combat and obedient, this little brother is really. Yamamoto Shigekuni nodded silently. He has lived for thousands of years, and he has seen all kinds of weird people. He heard that he was just lost, so he didn't ask any more questions. Instead, he threw the bamboo knife in his hand to Yizan. Old man, are you going to fight with me? Yizan caught the bamboo knife and glanced suspiciously at Yamamoto Shigekuni's thin and old figure. Although I know that he is actually the most powerful one in the corpse soul world, but looking at him so old, it really makes people embarrassed to shoot. Why, do you still think you can beat me? Yamamoto Shigekuni laughed. Although my old bones don't like to move, it's more than enough to teach such an ignorant kid like you. Come first, I have many advantages. Respecting the old and loving the young is my life criterion. Yizan smiled maliciously. In battle, using words to make your opponent lose their minds is also the key to victory. However, someone like Yamamoto Shigekuni, who single-handedly established the Order of the Soul Society, founded the Shinigami and Shino Spiritual Arts Academy, and held the position of the leader of the Soul Society for so many years, would not be tempted by such elementary taunting skills. He snorted softly, and was not humble, and rushed up directly. Yizan blocked with a horizontal knife, and the whole person moved back 2 or 3 meters under the influence of this momentum. This old man is really not bragging, his strength is not small. Yizan only felt that his mouth was slightly numb, and the expression on his face became a little more serious. I was careless just now, come again. I didn't do my best just now. Yamamoto Shigekuni said, and slashed again. This time, Yizan didn't answer the move, and turned around to dodge. Whoever fights with you, you can't catch up with me, can you? Yizan stuck out his tongue and took the opportunity to go around behind Yamamoto Shigekuni. The wind sounded in his ears. Yizan stepped back 2 steps away in an instant, only to hear, boom. There was a loud bang, and the floor was covered with cobweb-like cracks. Oh my god, old man, you are trying to kill. Yizan exaggeratedly took a few steps back. Why hasn't your knife been broken yet? Chapter 23_Yamamoto is very strong. It's called cleverness, boy, you still have to learn. Without any pause, Yamamoto Shigekuni's next move followed. Swish. Yizan jumped up, and when he fell, he was standing on the tip of the knife, staring at Shigekuni Yamamoto. Old man, you can't cut me. Ha 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 ha. Sure enough, I still think you're too arrogant. Yamamoto Shigekuni shook his head helplessly, reaching out and giving Yizan a shudder. Damn, you are fouling. This is the master teaching the apprentice. You are clearly jealous of my flexibility. Yamamoto Shigekuni glanced at Yizan up and down and shook his head. With your bamboo-like figure, there's really nothing to be jealous of. Bah, you skinny old man are embarrassed to talk about me. Hearing his figure, Yizan got angry. Although he is not a muscular man, his figure is also very predictable. If there are abs, there are abs, and if there is a Hiroshi bicep, there is a Hiroshi bicep. These are real muscles that contain strength. Yamamoto Jangwo didn't answer, just rolled up his sleeves. Yizan widened his eyes, jumped down from the bamboo knife, silently compared his arms with old Yamamoto's, and then stopped talking. Using a cup as an analogy, this is the difference between A and C. No wonder this old man has such strong power without spiritual power. Yizan remembered the fact that he was pushed away 2 or 3 meters by him, and he was relieved, and he had no intention of giving in. Fortunately, I don't have such thick arms, otherwise no girls will like me in the future. Ha ha. Yamamoto Lu Yuenjai Shigekuni, who has never been liked by a girl. Yizan, who is always ready for old man Yamamoto to strike again, you can't fight anymore. If you don't fight me, you can do it. I've already asked you 3 moves. You can't say that I bully the elderly. Yizan said, launched Shunpo, and for a while, the entire practice room revealed that it was the phantom that he stayed for a moment. Yamamoto Shigekuni was stunned by the sight in front of him. What speed does it take to achieve this effect? A phantom cannot exist in place for more than 3 seconds, and now there are more than 20 phantoms existing at the same time, which means that Yizan ran at least 2 or 3 kilometers in 3 seconds. The sound of breaking the air sounded beside him. Yamamoto Shigekuni did not move his heels, he flicked sideways, and accurately avoided this attack. Old man, it's not bad. Yizan rolled on the ground to release his momentum. Can you dodge this trick? Boy, arrogant. After speaking, Yamamoto Shigekuni disappeared in place, appeared in front of Yizan in an instant, and swung his sword down. Yizan didn't care about any tactics anymore, and immediately blocked. Hey, old man, you were really deceived by me. Yizan's laughter sounded from behind when Yamamoto Shigekuni cut him down. The next moment, he found himself stabbed in the back by a solid object. At the same time, the phantom in front of Yamamoto in a blocking pose disappeared. Not bad. Yamamoto Shigekuni stood up and nodded with satisfaction. Although his strength is average, his strategy is excellent. Yizan was proud. That is, by the way, my uncle's spiritual power is also very good. Unfortunately, you don't have Zanpakuto yet. Yizan's pride was instantly knocked down, but he quickly rallied. I will have Zanpakuto soon. Of course, everyone has their own Zanpakuto. Yamamoto Shigekuni nodded. What you have to do now is to find it. Generally speaking, for people with strong spiritual power, Zanpakuto will automatically appear. The reasons for not appearing are basically the same. It's because you don't believe in the existence of the knife, or feel you don't need it. No, I need it very much. Yizan said with a bitter face. I also really want to believe that it exists, but what can I do if it doesn't appear? Yamamoto Shigekuni touched his beard meaningfully. This shows that you need stimulation. What? Yizan was stunned for a moment, and then he couldn't help but want to laugh. Stimulated, and gave this uncle a dozen beauties to stimulate. Come on, stimulate me hard. A lot of Grim Reaper finds Zanpakuto after a battle with Hollow. You can try it. What the hell? I even beat Balagang to the ground. Okay. If this method works, I will even practice Bankai. In fact, I have killed a lot of ghosts. It's too bad, this uncle can easily kill them with ghosts. Yamamoto Shigekuni heard this. He almost couldn't help knocking him with the bamboo sword in his hand. Have you seen Zanpakuto? So, Yizan was stunned. Zanpakuto, he really hasn't seen. It seems that what you need is not to fight, but to watch other people's battles. Yamamoto Shigekuni sighed. You can walk around Jingling Court in your spare time. If you have time, you can ask them to learn from each other. After Shigekuni Yamamoto finished speaking, he added, for you, the captain and vice captain is a good choice. Can I take this as your affirmation of my strength? Yi-zan smiled. After practicing with you for so long, the old man's muscles and bones are also active. You can play by yourself, the old man has to work too. Then I'll go find my missing brother. Yi-zan shrugged, dropped the bamboo knife and ran. Outside the jingling courtyard. The corpse soul world is so big, where can I find that guy? Yi-zan frowned and sighed as he looked at the large crowded hut. Otherwise, I still can't find it. While he was so hesitant, a cloud of smoke billowed in the distance. Sword. 8. Yi-zan looked at the Zakagi Kenpachi who appeared in a classic shape in front of him, feeling that his 4.7 was about to lose his ability to speak. What is the classic shape of Zaragi Kenpachi? It's the image of this guy carrying a grass deer Bachinliu on his shoulders. If someone asks Yi-zan who is the girl who will never be interested in the world of the god of death, Yi-zan can answer with certainty, Kalmu Yachinliu and Kuchiki Rukia. Of course, there is also Higashi who looks exactly like Kuchiki Rukia. He really can't appreciate the hairstyle of Octopus Head, not to mention the old saying, a friend's wife can't be played. Since Yi-zan had already made up his mind to accept Kuchiki Byakuya as his younger brother, it would be nothing to give him this kind of girl he didn't like very much. And the grass deer Bachinliu who never grows up. He likes a girl with a chest, not a daughter. Chapter 24-Find Zanpakudo. Yi-zan didn't like to be a human baby, and of course he couldn't understand why Zengi Kenpachi would pick up this kind of baby doll. Is this your long-lost daughter? Zaraki Kanbahan smiled and scratched his hair. I picked it up when I got lost. Actually, I don't understand, the city wall is behind, why would you go in the exact opposite direction? I don't know either, ha ha ha. Yi-zan. By the way, Bachianryu, we are going back here, can you live alone? Zaragi Kenpachi put down Bachianryu who was sitting on his shoulders. No, Yachinliu said with certainty, I want to be with Kenpachi. It's not impossible. Yi-zan looked at Zengmu Janba's embarrassed eyes, and his wickedness rose immediately. Only the god of death and the family of the god of death can enter Jingling Court, you can be his daughter. Really? Bachinliu looked at Yi-zan expectantly. Of course. Yi-zan nodded solemnly. 30. Then let's go. Yachianryu took Kenpachi's hand, as if afraid that he would run away. Yi-zan couldn't help shivering when he looked at their tired and crooked appearance. Two extremes. After a simple registration, they successfully brought Bachinliu into Jingling Court. On the way, they also met Kuchiki Byakuya, and Yi-zan said hello with a smile. Originally, he thought that this guy would not respond to him, but who knew he would actually nod his head. After passing by, Yi-zan also felt more and more strange. It's normal for Byakuya Kuchiki to ignore people, isn't it? Could it be because I became Yamamoto Shigekuni's apprentice? After sending Zengi Kenpachi to take his newly released daughter to the dormitory of the first team to report, Yi-zan leisurely thought about the next action goal. Everything is premised on finding Zanpakudo. According to the words of the old man Yamamoto, he is looking for a captain-level challenge. Who would be free? Yi-zan thought about it carefully, and found that he was really confused about the 13th division at this time, and it was the two he encountered that had a little influence. Fengchao Lujiro and Ikawa Rao. That's them. I'm not free right now. Fengchao Lujiro categorically rejected Yi-zan's challenge. At least you have to wait for me to finish processing these documents. Yi-zan followed his hand and looked over. Good guy, 3 or 4 documents more than half a meter high. I'll go to another team to ask. Yi-zan wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. Is there so much work to be done as a captain? Yi-zan suddenly began to doubt his choice. He didn't have the determination to die for the Soul Society. Then I'll go to another team to see. Yi-zan could only say goodbye. 12th Division. Yi-zan, I didn't tell you, you were definitely fooled by the captain. Urahara Kazuki looked at Yi-zan with a sigh. What? Like this. Urahara Kazuki found a bamboo sword, and then pulled out his Zanpakudo, not even Shikai. Brush. A white light flashed. The bamboo knife was split in half. Yizan. So, you understand. Urahara Kazuki shrugged. I won't fight you. So what? Yizan released some spiritual power to cover the bamboo knife. Will you try again? You already control your spiritual power and release it. Urahara Kazuki looked at Yizan in shock. It's impossible. Zanpakuto itself is a manifestation of spiritual power. I don't know what's going on. Isn't your 12th division just doing research? Accompany me in research. After the words fell, Yizan really saw Urahara Kazuki's eyes flashing with interest. Then would you mind if I record your data? I don't mind. It's all fake anyway. What's there to mind? Well, you come with me. ... Amazing. How deep is this? Yizan looked at the bottomless stairs spiraling down in amazement. The wind from the bottom can almost lift a person up. 836 meters. Urahara Kazuki smiled. At the bottom is the place where the prisoners are detained. It's very dangerous, so I won't show you the tour. Turn left is where the body data is detected. The instrument for testing body data is a half-open capsule, standing upright against the wall. Yizan put on the ring connected to the data cable at Urahara Kazuki's request, then stood inside and began to release the Reiatsu. Urahara Kazuki watched the steady rise on the display and finally surpassed the vice-captain level, stayed on a curve slightly lower than the captain level, and began to scan his other body data. In your situation, I can only say, it's only a matter of time. Kazuki Urahara thought for a while and gave a well-known example. Your situation is very similar to Kuchiki Byakuya, he doesn't have Zanpakuto yet. What is there to compare this kind of thing? Yizan turned over Byakugan in his heart. Anyway, that guy had a knife in the end. Maybe he would find his Chinban Sakura next to his pillow when he woke up tomorrow. That's my future brother. Think about it. What a tragic thing to lose to him. You can try to summon your Zanpakuto 210 before going to bed every day. Maybe you will see it when you wake up one day. Ha ha. This joke is not funny. Yizan said while taking off the ring from his hand. This is not a joke. Zanpakuto has a soul and an emotional being. It will answer the call. Urahara Kazuki said, patting his knife. By your auspicious words. Yizan waved his hand and turned to leave. At this time, the voices of Urahara Kazuki and his assistants came from behind. Captain Aizen has gone to the virtual circle, and I don't know how to get rid of the Akachis he caught. Blue die to go to the virtual circle. Yizan's heart moved. Those stupid virtuals won't leak Lao Su's existence, will they? Yizan thought about this possibility carefully and found that it was impossible. Because only Balagang and Ulquiorra had been in close contact with him. And they don't know my name either. Black-haired teenager with no other features left. Even if Aizen knew there was someone who defeated Balagan, he couldn't find any evidence that it was me. Yizan smiled proudly, thinking that he could try the method Urahara Kazuki said when he went back. What is the calling word? Come out, my favorite Zanpakuto, I want to see you. Yes, that's it. The soul of the knife will surely feel my deep love. Chapter 25_Willful Knife. In this way, under the call of Yizan's love day after day, Zanpakuto finally answered his call. This is Zanpakuto. Zaraki Kenpachi looked at the knife in Yizan's hand in amazement. There was no pattern on the dark scabbard, and the hilt was a dazzling yuhi color, so vivid that it seemed to be breathing. It looks great, pull it out and see. I want to see Yachianryu too. Yachianryu grabbed Kenpachi's arm and looked at Zanpakuto with anticipation in his eyes. Under the gaze of both pairs of eyes, Yizan was under great pressure. He tried the knife when he saw it in the morning and couldn't pull it out. You don't understand. He shook his head inexplicably. Knives are not objects. They can be pulled out when needed. That's why I can't pull it out. Ba Chinliu bit his fingers. His tone was innocent and pure, but he pointed directly to the point. Hey, people who don't have Zanpakuto are not qualified to speak. Yizan smiled and slammed a finger on the kid's forehead. The boss is already very powerful with Zanpakuto. Zaragi Kenpachi nodded in agreement. So, Yizan's problem changed from getting the Zanpakuto to how to pull out the Zanpakuto. Anyway, he felt that he finally had a Zanpakuto now, at least it should be the invincible player in the world. Strange. Yizan tried to input spiritual power for the nth time, but the knife did not respond at all. He unbelievably plucked a weed and injected spiritual power. In an instant, the grass leaves that were originally soft and squat were straight, and they were full of sharpness under the wrapping of spiritual power. With a flick of Yizan's hand, the grass leaves disappeared into the rocks of the wall like a ray of light. After a while, the spiritual power attached to it dissipated, and the half-exposed grass leaves hung down softly. Zanpakuto, whose spiritual power was completely absorbed when he entered it, the blue veins on his forehead jumped one by one. Came out. So what's the use of you? Decorations. Prove that I'm a Zanpakuto person too. Come out. I know you can hear me. Come out for me, you bastard. Yizan clamped the scabbard between his feet and pulled his hands hard. As if they had grown together, no matter how hard he tried, the knife could not be pulled out. At least it's better than weeds. Yizan tapped the handle of the knife hard. You're not even better than a grass. Do you have the nerve to exist in this world? As soon as the words fell, a scene that terrified Yizan happened. I saw that the knife was like a dead virtual, and it opened Shikai from the tail and scattered into spirits, drifting with the wind. There were countless grass and mud horses rushing past in Yizan's heart, and before each one left, he turned his head and gave him an infinitely mocking embarrassed face. Brother Knife, I was wrong, Brother Knife, can't I love you? Really, I love you more than my sister. Yizan begged for mercy with a bitter face. Zanpakuto finally stopped his self-destructive posture and turned into a silent, stubborn knife. Yizan just opened his mouth to say this, but he didn't expect it to be useful. So whose knife is going to commit suicide if it doesn't agree with each other? So whose knife needs to be coaxed by the owner? So whose knives are useless and can't be said? Where is the knife? This is the ancestor. I'll go back and confess to you, okay. 3 sticks of incense every day. The corners of Yizan's mouth twitched, feeling that his reason was gone. But he couldn't get angry. It's really a knife with personality. Yamamoto Shigekuni, who was passing by and saw this scene, laughed. Worse yet, but that's it. Yizan knew that no one could give him practical and effective help on this issue of Zanpakuto. There are many theories in the soul world, but there are still many people who don't have Zanpakuto, can't pull out Zanpakuto, don't know Shikai, don't know Bankai. Come to think of it, life is really hard. It's like a master. Zanpakuto is an external manifestation of the power of the soul. Yamamoto Shigekuni, with his hands behind his back, taught Yizan with interest. So, if you want to fully use Zanpakuto, you must first recognize yourself. Know yourself. I recognize it very clearly. I am the protagonist, I am the man who bears the fate, and I am the man who will change the world. Coherent, very clear. Learn more, child. After Yamamoto Shigekuni finished, Shishirin left. In fact, this Zanpakuto was sent by fate to torture me. Seeing that I am too smooth, it makes it more difficult for me to unify the corpse and soul world. In an instant, Yizan had such a feeling. In a blink of an eye, more than half a month passed, and the school started again. Yizan wore his self-willed Zanpakuto and pushed open the door of the 5th grade classroom in the eyes of everyone. More than half of the people looked over. Yizan glanced at the girl inside, with a habitual smile on his face that would only seduce the girl who still existed. Of course, the one who was as eye-catching as the girl is that Kuchiki Byakuya. He was sitting upright in his seat at this time, with a Zanpakuto that Yizan was familiar with on his waist. Thousands of Sakura. Sure enough, he also got Zanpakuto. Yizan was not surprised, just took it for granted. The younger brother is a little more powerful, and it is only because he is the big brother that he has face. Is there anyone here? Yizan walked to the position beside Kuchiki Byakuya, and asked out of courtesy. If someone ran out and said that this seat was his, Yizan still had 18 ways to fool him automatically. Give up this position. But no one stood up. Yizan nodded with satisfaction, then sat down on his seat. The first step towards Byakuya Kuchiki was achieved. But what should I do next to make this kid obey me? Yizan touched his zanpakudo, trying to turn over countless thoughts. As for listening to the class, I'm sorry, Yizan's purpose for going to school is the schoolgirl and Kuchiki Byakuya. The kind of theoretical knowledge that can only be used for speaking, it is useless to learn it. Kuchiki Byakuya, who was watched by Yizan for a whole class, finally couldn't bear it any longer. Why do you keep looking at me? Ah, it was discovered. Yizan was not embarrassed at all, but replied very calmly, actually, I'm not looking at you, but at the classmate in front of you on the left. It is also bad behavior to desert during school hours. I'll pay attention in the next class. Yizan nodded. It turns out that this guy was so serious and difficult to get along with in the early days. Chapter 36_permutation. By the way, your zanpakudo. Yizan wanted to ask him if he could pull out his zanpakudo, but he didn't want to hear a positive answer, so he stopped halfway and said, congratulations on finding your zanpakudo. Kuchiki Byakuya looked at Yizan with more doubts. ... Look at how good, well-behaved and temperamental Chinban Sakura is. They all call Kuchiki Byakuya, the Lord. It's not like you have such a big temper. Before going to bed, Yizan used a muslin cloth wipe the zanpakudo while teaching it how to make a knife. Not to mention how arrogant they were when they were bankai. Let's scatter. Thousands of cherry blossoms. Then the knife turned into a big rain of cherry blossoms, and then the girl next to me screamed. Yizan looked. I tried zanpakudo, who was unresponsive, but still couldn't pull it out. Forget it. Good night. This is a dark place. Everything is nothing, even the light is swallowed by the surrounding darkness. When Yizan woke up, he already found himself here, but no matter how much he shouted, there was no echo here. At least make some noise. What the hell is this place? Yizan knew 120 that it was impossible for him to cross again. And, just before that, he was sleeping in the dormitory, talking about Sanban Sakura with zanpakudo. The 3 words, thousands of cherry blossoms, had just crossed Yizan's mind, and suddenly a light flashed in the endless darkness, locking his throat, and an extremely lush cherry tree in full bloom appeared in front of Yizan. Yizan stretched out his hand. The cherry tree trembled violently the moment Yizan touched it, and then twisted into a knife. Thousands of sakura. This is simply frightening. Yizan suddenly opened his eyes and found that he was still in the dormitory, 10 minutes before the alarm clock he set at the beginning. It turned out to be a dream. Yizan breathed a sigh of relief, only to realize that Zanpakudo's butt was panicked. It was clearly placed on the head of the bed before going to bed. It must be because it came over on purpose to make trouble. Reaching out to hold the zanpakudo, doesn't it feel right? Yizan was stunned, opened the quilt and saw that the white knife handle with a rhombus-shaped black square came into view. This is definitely not his own quirky knife. Did someone change my knife while I was sleeping? Zanpakudo is an entity formed by the release of soul power, and it is absolutely impossible to lose it. So Yizan is not worried about Zanpakudo's whereabouts. Now he just wants to know how this knife was exchanged. Simply incredible. Who can sneak into my bedroom while I'm sleeping and not be discovered by me? Yizan looked at the knife in his hand. Obviously, it was also a Zanpakudo, and it looked a little familiar. This style, does it look a bit like Mimoto Sakura? How can it be? Yizan laughed, got up and put on his clothes, and picked up the knife thrown on the bed as if he was half crazy. This seems to be Chiban Sakura. I really didn't wake up early in the morning, so I'll know if I pull it out and see. Yizan patted his forehead and started to pull it out. Of course it can't be pulled out. It's really Sanban Sakura. So which idiot went to Kuchiki Byakuya to steal a Zanpakudo in the middle of the night, just to exchange his Zanpakudo? Damn, isn't this a pain in the ass? Yizan got dressed and was about to go out. He hesitated with Chinban Ying, but hung it on his waist and covered it with his sleeves along the way, for fear that others would find out that the knife was different. When he got to the classroom, Byakuya Kuchiki was already sitting in his seat, and his eyes fell on his waist when he saw Yizan come in. Yizan knew from the look in his eyes that he really encountered the same problem as himself. Your knife. Byakuya Kuchiki untied the tightly packed cloth bag, revealing that dazzling and beating fresh yuhi. Yizan returned Shinbanyang to him without any objection. Kutaki-kun, did you find anyone running into your room last night? It is impossible for outsiders to sneak into Kuchiki's house. Kuchiki Byakuya denied this statement without hesitation. I also don't think it's possible for someone to take the knife away while I'm sleeping. Yizan shrugged, but in fact, this kind of thing still happened. It can't be until you run away. Right. I seem to have said last night that Senbon Sakura is good. This guy has a big temper. Last time he said that it is not as good as weeds, so he will break it down and show it to me. This time, it will not be because I said Shinbanyang was obedient and attracted the girls to like it, so I will exchange myself for Shinbanyang. This seems to be a little tricky. But this little broken knife is definitely not that powerful. I must be thinking too much. The next day, Yizan once again took his knife from Kuchiki Byakuya and returned Shinbon Sakura to him. On the third day, Yizan once again took his knife from Kuchiki Byakuya and returned Shinbon Sakura to him. On the fourth day, Yizan still took his knife from Kuchiki Byakuya and returned Shinbon Sakura to him. Under the increasingly strange eyes of the whole class, Yizan felt more and more embarrassed. The nth time, and from his own knife in his hand, Byakuya Kuchiki finally couldn't help but said, "Is there something wrong with your knife?" "It's having a little temper with me." Yizan smiled calmly, showing that everything was in the master. As a big brother, how can you show the appearance of losing control of the situation in front of the younger brother? Pretend to be pretentious. Kuchiki Byakuya nodded. Your sword is quite interesting. Your knives are not bad either. Yizan greeted his classmates with vague eyes, and laughed until his face was almost frozen. Back in the dormitory, Yizan took Zanpakuto. "Big brother, I just complimented others, you don't want to play anymore, okay? I like you the most, really. There is no second heart. This kind of temper tantrum is really not like a man, isn't she a child? Or a girl? This is just crazy. Even if you want to change it, at least replace it with one that I can use. Shinbon Sakura, I can't use it. If you don't say anything, I'll take it as your promise. Don't make trouble again, do you hear?" Chapter 37-Teach That Swordsman. At night, Yizan dreamed of the void again. The difference is that there is a man wearing a black night clothes inside, and Yizan can recognize it at a glance with his dazzling yuhi hair. This is his own sword spirit. Knife spirit. You finally showed up. I only appeared when you wanted to see me. Daoling raised his head, revealing a face that was somewhat similar to Yizan. If you beg me for mercy, I will let you go. What the hell, Daoling is so dragged these days. This sentence should be said by me. If you ask me for mercy, I will reluctantly ignore your previous mistakes. Yizan stood relaxed, but he was actually alert to any situation that might happen. Just now, I thought my Daoling was a girl. The sword that only appeared if I said I loved it. The sword that would be jealous because I said Shinbon Sakura was better. Who knows, it's actually a man. I had to go out because I was disgusted by you. Daoling was furious, but the voice did not come out of his mouth, but sounded directly in Yizan's mind. What's so great about that broken knife? How can I compare to Lao Su? Lao Su will just stand in front of him. Let him go east, he will go east, and let him go west, he will go west. Not even a hair of Lao Su can compare. Yizan said helplessly, I just want you to follow his obedience, it has nothing to do with your strength. Want me to be obedient? Unless you can defeat me. Daoling wrapped his arms around him and looked up and down Yizan with disdainful eyes. Obviously you can't. Hearing Daoling's arrogant words, Yizan couldn't help laughing. If you don't try, how will you know? A look of anticipation flashed in Daoling's eyes. What if you lose? Yizan replied without hesitation. This kind of thing is impossible. I have everything you have. I am you, you are me. We are the same, can you beat yourself? If I lose I'll be yours, and if you lose, I'll replace everything for you. This knife spirit is not small, but he is still very greedy. Yizan felt that his hands were itchy, and he wanted to smash this guy on the ground and beat him. What are you talking about? Let's fight first. After Yizan finished speaking, the figure disappeared on the spot. It's useless, everything here is under my control. The voice of the sword spirit suddenly sounded in Yizan's ear. Or, this voice resounded in his heart. Don't you envy other people's Zanpakudo's obedience? Let me tell you why. Dowling suddenly appeared in front of Yizan and punched straight in the face. Yizan took a step back and wiped his fist from the tip of his nose. What's the reason? Because you don't have Zanpakudo. The laws of this world have patched up this loophole, turning me, who was originally a part of your soul, into a sword spirit. A look of disgust flashed in Dowling's eyes. So I am you, and you are me. I have all your memories. If it were you, would you be someone else's knife? Shocked is no longer enough to describe Yizan's current mood. If this kind of thing really falls on my head one day, it is absolutely unacceptable. However, Yizan glanced at Dowling's completely different face from his own, and denied his statement. I am who I am, and I am quite sure that I have arrived in the world of Death God completely, with absolutely no arms or legs, and no scratches. Take a piece. This is a sword, let's duel. It will never end. Dowling conjured two samurai swords out of thin air. The sharp blades reflected bright white metal light in the darkness. This is not reasonable. Yizan, you flashed this thought in an instant, then put it aside, and held the samurai sword that was thrown over. This is the world of Dowling, and nothing is strange anyway. Glancing at the opposite side, Yizan found that the momentum of Dowling actually overwhelmed him faintly, and his heart was shocked, and his expression couldn't help but add a little more seriousness. He really wanted to know, where did this sword spirit come from, and he actually delusionally thought that he could replace him. Yizan's body contains the power of fate. Although he is repelled by the local power of fate in the world of the god of death and cannot be easily manifested, the world of the sword spirit does not have the kind of power that is strong enough to rival it. Because of the rise of Yizan's fighting spirit, this power began to awaken in his body. Dowling felt the existence of this powerful force that could destroy the world in an instant, and the whole soul body shook. But the idea of existing in place of Yizan was too big. He clenched the Kiba barrier and refused to give up. Just let you see my power. Dowling was gradually entangled by lightning, and then guided to the samurai sword in his hand. In an instant, the seemingly ordinary samurai sword underwent earth-shaking changes, and the sound of rolling thunder and lightning came from the pitch-black void. A heavy thunder, Dowling shouted, waving his sword up. Bah! The samurai sword wrapped in the power of destiny collided with it, and the two figures were completely engulfed in a flash of white light. You lose, of course. Yizan's sword was placed on Dowling's neck. Tell me your name. Dowling turned his head away, looking like he didn't care. Say, or die. The blade, blessed by the power of destiny, was a little closer to the neck, and easily cut a shallow mark on it. Yuhi-colored spirits escaped along the blade, like a gleaming Yuhi ribbon in the dark. That Dowling didn't know that he was afraid until this time. He closed his eyes, and there was a trace of unwillingness in his eyes. Bright sunshine. Ability. You have to find out for yourself. Yao Raihui shook his head. No matter how threatened Yizan was, he would not say anything. You know, when you challenge me and fail, you don't have the right to say no. Yao Raihui was silent. Really don't tell me. Yizan frowned. Actually, I'm a very easy person to get along with, but only if you don't violate me. I'm never polite to those who provoke me. It's a very powerful force, and even I can only borrow a small part of it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have lost just now. Chapter 38_Coincidental Encounter with Matsumoto Ranju. It's another sunny morning. Yizan hummed a tune in a good mood as he walked to the classroom. Then, he met a beautiful girl. Thrilled. The long hair is big golden waves, and the perfect S-shaped figure. Although Junyang's standard school uniform wraps her tightly from head to toe, Yi-zan still looked straight. Face turned around. Great beauty. Isn't this Matsumoto Ranju? Yi-zan saw the person in front of him clearly, and his heart beat faster. She looked at me, looked at me, looked at me. Yi-zan was swaying, and a white-haired guy suddenly blocked between him and Matsumoto Ranju. What an eyesore. A cold light flashed in Yi-zan's eyes. A man who is entangled with Matsumoto Ranju and makes her sad. Miss Luanju, I will protect you in the hands of this fox man. Yi-zan clenched his fists, and strengthened the idea of robbing Matsumoto Ranju in his heart. Are you that Yi-zan? Ichimaru Silver noticed Yi-zan staring at him, and came over with interest. At this time, he had not yet become the captain of the 3rd Division, just a 4th-year student of the True Central Spiritual Arts Academy, one level lower than Yi-zan. The difference in strength between the two is more than 5 times. Yi-zan didn't take him seriously at all, even ignoring him was a waste of time, and turned his head away without saying a word. Isn't it different from the rumors? Ichimaru Silver murmured to himself, looking at his back. He also said that he is a good-natured and easy-going guy. Today, the school invited Kazuki, who had just become the 7th seat of the 5th Division, to demonstrate the method of killing Shu for the 6th grade. Because the venue is very large, students in the 4th and 5th grades are also allowed to come and watch. The class is suspended this afternoon. You all go directly to room CB 205. As soon as the teacher's voice fell, the class was already boiling. Pay attention to safety in the back, don't make loud noises and the like, and you can't even hear them. Although Yi-zan had no interest at all in the method of killing Shu, he also wanted to join in the fun. Seeing that these people were so excited, he turned his head and jumped out of the window. Just kidding, I didn't even have a seat if I went late. CB 205 is the largest practice classroom in Mao. The floor is paved with a solid piece of rock. It is not used much. It will only be turned on when it needs a practical demonstration. At this time, the field was already full of students, and a special device was nailed in the middle, and Shu was locked there. A giant phantom, the kind that Yi-zan can knock down with one move. Different from Yi-zan's disdain when he saw the virtual, the other students shivered with fright when the virtual roared, and even took a few steps back when the thing was struggling. So much so that there is a space for the boss between the students and the virtual. Yi-zan saw Matsumoto Ranju's golden hair from a distance, and immediately squeezed over there. He must be very scared when he comes into contact with Shu at such a close distance. Yi-zan laughed, almost making up the appearance of Matsumoto Ranju being frightened, hugging him suddenly, and digging into his arms. This is so exciting. Hearing the exclamations of the students, that Kixie's face flashed with pride, and then raised his Zanpakudo, daring to face the giant virtual alone, and still demonstrating in front of so many people. Of course his strength is not enough. It will be very weak, even stronger than the other 4 seats below the deputy team, just because of their short qualifications. They are still struggling in this position. Damn god of death, I'll eat you, I'm going to eat you. Shu was still shouting behind him, but he began to introduce the characteristics and habits of the giant virtual without changing his face. Many novice Shinigami will confuse this kind of virtual with Killian, or think that this is what we call a big virtual. In fact, there is a big difference between the two. Kazuki Hayara glanced at the students present. Giant virtual stronger than most of you, but not invincible. If there are more than 2 people, you can try to fight. If you encounter Kiryan who is forced to be bigger, you should report to your superiors immediately. Quote. At the conclusion of his speech, the big virtual let out another roar in a timely manner. It was the first time that Matsumoto Ranju had come into contact with the giant virtual at such a close distance. As Yi-zan guessed, his body was tilted, and his arm touched Yi-zan's chest. I'm sorry. Matsumoto Ranju quickly bowed his head and apologized when he realized that he had lost his way. The tone is not as arrogant as at the beginning of the plot, just an ordinary, somewhat shy girl. It's okay. Finally found the opportunity, Yizan began to show his most attractive side. If you are afraid later, you can hide behind me. Matsumoto Renku's head dropped even lower. Just when Yizan thought he was about to succeed, he suddenly sensed a murderous aura, and shrank his foot back, only to hear a pop, and one foot stepped on the place he was standing just now. If it wasn't for Yizan's quick dodging, he should have stepped on it firmly. Sure enough, it's still that Matsumoto Ranju. What a shy girl, that must be all an illusion. I see that you are a woman and kindly help you. Why are you like this? Yizan pretended to be angry. Is this kind of anxious look suitable for Miss Ben to be blind? Matsumoto Ranju put his hands on his hips, looking like he was about to teach Yizan a lesson. At this time, Shu suddenly struggled with all his might, and the ground shook with a powerful force. Matsumoto 5.5 Ranju was unprepared, and immediately fell into Yizan's arms. You and me, should you thank me? Yizan rubbed a handful of oil on Matsumoto Ranju's body, and then slowly helped her stand up. If I hadn't helped you just now, now you're on the floor embraced. You. Matsumoto Ranju leaned against Yizan's arms. Although he stood firm, his face was full of anger. He saw that Yizan's eyes had been falling on his chest, and he slapped him without thinking. Yizan held her wrist. His tone was full of pretended helplessness. I don't know if you have misunderstood something. Although you do look good, I haven't had any extra thoughts about you yet. Well, only temporarily. Chapter 29 _ These stupid gods of death. You are clearly. Matsumoto Ranju wanted to say more, but the classmates next to her couldn't stand it anymore. Matsumoto Ranju, I saw from the beginning to the end. In the beginning, it was you who bumped into Lord Yizan yourself. He didn't say anything, and you even cared about it yourself. Later, you didn't stand still, thanks to him supporting you. It was an ordinary-looking girl, looking at Yizan with admiration in her eyes. That's right, he is a genius who is as famous as Kuchiki Byakuya in the school. There are many girls who like him. Don't be too affectionate. Another boy standing not far away also interjected, and he said something. The outside meaning is to help Yizan. Matsumoto Ranju was so angry that he shivered all over, and angrily pulled his clothes that were a little messy because of the action of the fall just now, and pushed the person away from Yizan. Yizan's purpose of wiping oil has been achieved, and he doesn't care that Matsumoto Ranju doesn't like himself now. Women, they all like powerful men. Matsumoto Ranju can never escape from his palm. Yizan had such thoughts in his heart, but his face was not visible at all, but he began to thank the two who spoke for him just now. Thank you 30 just now, I don't know what I did wrong. Maybe I shouldn't say, hide behind me when you're afraid, that makes people misunderstand. No, this sentence will never be misunderstood. The ordinary-looking girl shook her head again and again. It's only because Lord Yizan is too gentle that a woman like Matsumoto can do whatever she wants. The boy sneered disdainfully and said, that woman Matsumoto is amazing. Don't look at her appearance, her temper is really. Except for that Ichimaru Silver. Who can talk to her? Other people are close to her 1 meter away from her. Will think that other people are interested in her. Quote. It will make a man so hostile to a woman, and still a beautiful woman, unless there is only one situation, the confession is rejected. Very straightforward, no room left, very neat and tidy. Yizan gave the boy a funny look and nodded slightly, but listed Ichimaru Silver as his first-class enemy. He is indeed a very important man to Matsumoto Ranju. At the other end, the battle between the 7 seats and the giant virtual has also begun to heat up. Although he explained every move he made, for students who have never fought against virtual, the current scene is still very exciting. The most powerful one is actually Captain Aizen. He was the one who grabbed this dummy and brought it back. I heard that there was more than this one, and more were sent to the laboratory of the 12th Division. The whispers of a few people not far away entered Yizan's ears. By the way, there is another Aizen, Yusuke, who almost forgot about him. Did it come back already? I heard that this demonstration was supposed to be completed by Captain Aizen, but he was seriously injured in order to capture Shu, and is now recuperating. The deputy team has to deal with the affairs of the squad, so the 7th seat is sent over. Quote. I hope he gets better soon. It's more difficult to catch the ghosts than to kill them. If it's just hunting, Captain Aizen will definitely not be hurt. ... A bunch of stupid guys. Captain Aizen, whom you guys like to worship now, may be planning to capture the Shinigami to create Bakuyu. I don't know if he is going to build the laboratory into the virtual circle. He was seriously injured, and he should have fought against the king-level great virtual. Like, Balagang. ... Nursing ward. Aizen, are you saying that you were attacked by Bastard? Yamamoto was sitting in the ward leaning on crutches, looking at Aizen with a very solemn expression. Washita generally has a fixed territory, no, it's easy to leave and walk. Have you found anything else? For example, the powerful pressure before? No, Aizen remembered that he had worked so hard to defeat Bastard, but the guy said that he was no longer the Void King, because he was defeated by others a long time ago. It's as if you've worked so hard to prepare for a long time, and when you think you can reap the fruits, others tell you that the fruits already belong to others. How do ordinary people feel? Cursing is definitely necessary. But Aizen was different. He endured it, but he endured the pain and taught Balagang a lesson, forcing him to obey himself and rebuild the Zai Palace. Whether or not the man he so-called beat him exists, he has disappeared for so long. Who knows if something happened? It was absolutely impossible for Aizen to let the plan he had prepared for countless years be disrupted by a little episode. Even if the man returns to the virtual circle in the future, is he not interested in his own plan? Gain power, open Wang Jian, and find the Spirit King. The one that attacked you, was Balagang. Yamamoto looked at the weak man lying on the bed in front of him. Aizen nodded, yes. Balagang almost never leaves the confines of the throne. It seems that something has happened. Yamamoto left as he couldn't ask anything. Aizen, who was left alone in the ward, touched the wound slashed down from her shoulder 197, and a thought flashed in her eyes. Don't know where to go. Is this the truth, or is it lying to me? ... Shishi demonstrated n kinds of swordsmanship and pointed out the countless weaknesses of Shu's body, and finally killed the half-dead Shu with one sword. In an instant, the entire venue was filled with cheers. The students were so excited that instead of watching a teaching demonstration, they went out and killed the phantom. Next, we will train you with some ordinary phantoms. The 6th grade students stand in groups of 5 and take turns to come up. Saying that, Kazuki Hayara pointed to the object covered by the black cloth with Zanpakudo. As an assistant, the god of death lifted the black cloth covering it, and it turned out to be a few ghosts who were held in solitary confinement. The body is very small, it should be the lowest level of existence. But Yizan sensed something was wrong. There is an Akachis disguised as a low-level phantom. Its size is a little smaller than the average Akachis, which is obviously the key to its successful camouflage. It's just that those gods of death are all idiots. Can't everyone recognize it? Do you want to remind them? After all, there are so many delicate girls present, it's not good to be scared. Chapter 30_Achukas in disguise. Yizan hesitated for a while, feeling that even if he said it, others would not necessarily believe it, and that Achukas was really well hidden. So many gods of death present didn't think it was wrong, why should they listen to themselves? Students' words. After all, the probability of seeing an Achukas in the soul world is still very low. If you see it, it will be even lower if you can survive. If you say it kindly, it may make people suspicious. Moreover, the ordinary small cage could not hold Akachis in the first place, so there is no difference in fact, it depends on the situation. Yizan was going to leave originally, but he changed his mind because of this Yachukas mixed in the ordinary virtual world, and was always watching the movement of that thing. Although after defeating Balagang, he has become the actual master of the virtual circle, but compared to the ugly virtual world, he feels that he prefers the soul world. At least there are beautiful girls who meet the aesthetics of human beings. At this time, the 6th grade students had been divided into more than a dozen teams under the command of the teacher and the gods of death, and the 3 girls and 2 boys had been assigned to the Achukas who pretended to be ordinary. It seems that even if it is for the sake of the girl, it must be shot. Yizan thought to himself. Most of the 6th grade students did not have zanpakuto, but they also wore the light hits issued by the school. Although they have no combat experience, with their strength, they are still a group of 5, and it is not difficult to deal with ordinary virtual nature that is limited to a certain range. Therefore, after assigning the tasks, the teacher and a few gods of death patrolled among these people, pointing and turning around from time to time, and they looked very relaxed. That Achukas was also very patient, just like an ordinary virtual. He was chased and beaten by a few students who were extremely weak in combat, and pretended to be unable to break free from the chains. It gets weaker and weaker as time goes by. Yizan never knew that Shu would also pay attention to his acting skills, so he was simply stunned by this guy's acting skills. What does it picture? Wouldn't it be better to go crazy sooner? When Yizan was puzzled, Akachis finally spoke. Have you had fun, kids? The hoarse voice stunned the girls who were about to strike the last blow against him. The 2 male students who had already launched the attack couldn't stop and rushed forward with expressions of horror on their faces. Since you guys came to the door, I'm welcome. Shuhihi smiled and slapped his paw hard. Then, I'm going to start. When the words fell, he swallowed the boy closest to him. The 3 stunned girls looked at the scene in front of them, their screams resounding through the sky. Yizan scratched his ears in annoyance. I really don't know what the body structure of these girls is like. This voice is simply convincing, isn't it? Daxu, Hayakazuki, who rushed over from the other end of the field, couldn't save the boy who was caught by Shu, and could only watch the Shu eat the second person. Hurry up and notify the death god patrolling nearby. This is Achukas. Kazuki Hayara's eyes were split open, and the hand that held Zanpakuto trembled slightly. Achuka's strength is similar to that of a captain, much stronger than that of a vice-captain, not to mention his mere 7 seats. If there are 5 or 6 people with strength like him present, maybe this Akachis can be trapped, but now he is in school, and among so many people present, he is the only one with the strongest strength. Can't beat it. He knew this very clearly in his heart, but he couldn't back down. Because, those students who are weaker than him still need his protection. It's Akachis. It's Akachis. It has eaten 2 people. Run. When Ryoichi and Akachis faced off, the students' onlookers realized what happened, screamed and started to squeeze for the exit, and the scene suddenly became chaotic. Yizan stood in the crowded and chaotic crowd, allowing them to push and collide, still standing still, and even took the time to help 2 thin girls who were almost crushed by the crowd. It's here. I don't know who screamed, and the already tense atmosphere suddenly rose to a peak, and the timid and poor psychological quality even started to cry. At the exit, I don't know who fell. Everyone huddled together, eager to get out, but no one could get out. Those 6th graders who were originally focused on fighting Shu, were gradually affected by the louder and louder screams of the audience, and stopped. At first glance, it was incredible. The 7th seat of the 5th division, which was still majestic against the giant virtual, was almost chased and beaten by that ordinary-looking virtual. What's going on here? A girl with a ponytail asked her teammate, unaware that Shu behind her stretched out her long claws to her. Kun Komer, the mask of flesh and blood, all phenomena, the thing that flutters high, and bears the name of human beings. Burning heat and strife, rolling southward across the sea, and marching forward. The 31st breaking of the road, the red artillery. A basketball-sized fireball flew past her ear, and before the girl had time to react, a howl before her death could be heard behind her. She turned her head and stared blankly at her, who was only half a step away from her. Now that a large hole was burned in her chest, she felt the soles of her feet soften, and she slumped on the ground. Through the gradually widening hole, she saw that she and her classmates had to fight in groups of 5 for a long time. In the end, the red cannon that killed countless virtuals slammed into the wall, and the violent explosion blasted the said solid wall into a large hole that could allow several people to enter and exit at the same time. This kind of strength. The classmate who experienced the thrilling scene with her just looked at the direction of Kai cannon, where there is only one person standing. Short black hair and the same Mao school uniform as them. A zanpakudo with a yuhi handle hangs around his waist. Yizan. Seeing their gazes, Yizan nodded slightly, and then pulled out Yaoraihui from his waist. Chapter 31-Fighting. A powerful reiatsu radiated from the fresh yuhi-colored blade, but it calmed the students who were already panicking. This kind of spiritual pressure, at least the level of vice captain. Are the captains here? Great. I don't want to die yet. A girl with pink hair touched her tears with her sleeve, and began to cry the next moment. The calm students stopped rushing towards the exit. At this time, someone discovered the hole that Yizan blasted with the red cannon. Look, there's an exit over there. As soon as the voice fell, everyone who was still a long way from the door ran over there. It was only at this time that the 6th graders recovered from their shock and understood what had happened from the screams of the people around them. An Hokage. But they had just seen Yizan knocking down more than a dozen virtual powers with one move. They were not very afraid. The daring ones even waved their white beatings and stood behind Yizan, as if they were following him. Yizan found out what they were doing and really wanted to say, "Can you stop making trouble here?" 897. But no, his goal is to become the male god worshipped by everyone in Jingling Court. How can he say such a thing? He twitched the corners of his mouth, trying to show a smile that could fool people like Aizen, but he tried and failed. He didn't care much either, and said, "After all, it's Ichuka's, and I'm not very sure, so be careful yourself." Yes. Everyone responded in unison, and it was full of momentum. At this time, a person Yizan had not noticed also walked out of the crowd. Kuchiki Byakuya. I don't know where he was hiding just now, but he didn't even notice. This is too insignificant. Are you here to help me? Yizan asked. Kuchiki Byakuya nodded silently. But if so many of you are staring at me, I can't kill this Yachukas too easily. I have to pretend to be reluctant. It's really embarrassing. And there is Kuchiki Byakuya on the side as a foil. If the performance is too strong, it will be clearly foiled. Yizan shook his head and sighed. The Yachukas also discovered their existence, easily broke the chain around his neck, and approached them with a terrifying laugh. Obviously, if any one of them escapes first, it will definitely become this guy's first target. Not far from it, Hayakazuki, who had tried to delay time with Yachukas at first, but was now full of scars, looked at Yizan with a very complicated look. Relief, shock, and maybe guilt. Just now, if Yizan hadn't used the ghost's voice to attract Akachi's attention, he would have been almost killed by Akachis. As a senior who graduated for many years, he actually had to rely on a student who did not graduate to protect him. Yizan didn't have time to pay attention to what he was thinking, but looked at the Ichukas who was performing extremely well. This is a beast in the form of a phantom, and its shape can vaguely see the appearance of a lizard. The method of attack seems to be a tongue. Could it be a chameleon? Probably. You look so good, I'll definitely become Vastord if I eat you. Ichukas looked at Yizan with a possessive expression that made him feel very sick. Then let's try it. Yizan waved the radiant light in his hand, and the fresh yuhi-colored blade drew a ripple-like phantom in the air. This is the first time I use Zanpakudo. You can become Matsuri. I should feel honored to be the first dagger of the sword. Although, I think Ichukas has humiliated my sword a bit. Quote. It's so loud. Ichukas sneered coldly, and began to release a black reiatsu. Because Yizan pulled out Zanpakudo panicked again, and the few who had the guts to stay and watch the fun also ran outside in fear. Even the 6th grade students standing behind Yizan became frightened and wanted to leave, but Ichuka's reiatsu made them unable to move. This is the gap in strength, and it was only then that they realized how ridiculous it was to rush up and say that they wanted to help Yizan. Only Kuchiki Byakuya remained calm, and even though his face was pale because he resisted the influence of Reiatsu, he still pulled out the Senbon Sakura in his hand. This kind of power. No wonder it dares to break into the jingling court. Mr. Mao, who was delaying Ichuka's with Kazuki Haya just now, muttered to himself, it can only evolve into Vastord. This is already captain-level power. There's nothing we can do about that. I hope the captains will come here soon. Kazuki Hayara struggled to stand up. We must let the others retreat first. While those two classmates can still delay. But, they're just students. We are too weak. Going up is just adding to the chaos. Kazuki Hayara glanced at the 6th graders behind Yizan who were under the pressure of Shuling. I will find a chance to take them out. Okay. The teacher nodded. Battle between Yizan and Yachukas has begun. A performance battle in which Yizan tried his best to make himself look embarrassed. Byakuya, you stand up first. I'll get these people out first. Yizan said to Kuchiki Byakuya. Then without waiting for him to answer, he started singing, Destroy Yourself, Read the Black Dog of Rondanini. Next, completely burn and cut your own throat. The 9th tyranny of the Tao, collapse the wheel. At the end of the singing, the spiritual power formed a dozen spiritual power ropes at Yizan's fingertips, and tied the students behind him under his control. Hayo Kazuki's eyes widened, and he saw Yizan's fingers dancing nimbly, and those students were thrown out one after another, the direction of the exit. Ordinary people can only control one spiritual power rope using the 9-bounding wheel of the Tao, but he can control more than a dozen. Before Kazuki Haya could taste Yizan's move, he was completely shocked. The next second, he suddenly disappeared from the spot and appeared in front of the only remaining female student in an instant. Chapter 32_Behead. She is the ponytail girl who was almost attacked by the virtual before. Yizan picked her up by the waist and ran to the door quickly. I'll put you down later, go out by yourself, you know. Spoke, a fresh Yuhi's tongue chased after them. Yizan blocked it with Zanpakuto, and in a blink of an eye, he ran to the big hole that was blown up just now. One by one, they are still stunned, waiting to serve Shu as a snack. To marvel, he disappeared again. The girl who was put down by Yizan in a very gentle posture held her heart, only to feel her heart beating fast. Powerful and gentle, and handsome. At this moment, she found that she had fallen. Byakuya, didn't I let you stand up first? Yizan looked at Kuchiki Byakuya while dodging Akuka's attack. I saw that he was fighting with Akuka's tail, so he really didn't have time to control him. What the tongue does. Man, the tongue is long enough. Yizan clicked his tongue. You must know that there is a distance of more than 50 meters from the location of Yachuka's to the exit. I think your tongue is too long to get in the way, why don't you take it back? Yizan said, wrapping Ichuka's tongue with Zanpakuto, and he got the mucus on his hand. Looking at the dripping saliva on it, Yizan shuddered in disgust. Can I ask an irrelevant question? You say, how long has it been since you brushed Kiba and rinsed your mouth? Bastard. Yachukas flicked his tail and retracted his tongue from Yizan's Zanpakuto. At this time, the above was dissatisfied with the wound cut by the blade. Yizan shook the knife in disgust. It's not that I'm too disgusting, you can't keep your tongue now. Damn death, I'm going to eat you. I'll eat you. Yachukas let out an angry roar, and immediately ignored Kuchiki Byakuya. His scaly tail turned and swung towards Yizan. Snapped. The sturdy rock floor was smashed to pieces, and the rubble flew in all directions. This tail looks good, Yizan said while dodging Ichukas's attack, out of breath. In order to be realistic, he did not hide too far, and the scales erected on Ichuka's tail brushed past him again and again in a thrilling manner, and the school uniform soon became tattered. Swish, _. This is Yizan randomly raising Zanpakuto to block, and as a result, the sound of the tip of Ichuka's tail is cut off. Ow! The roar of the virtual pain almost pierced the eardrum. Embarrassing, this is really embarrassing. Yizan secretly glanced at Kuchiki Byakuya. He really did not expect that this tail looked so powerful, that after fighting with Kuchiki Byakuya's Zanpakuto for so long, it was actually so uncut. No wonder Yaorai said Senbon Sakura was too weak. The contrast is obvious. Yizan looked left and right, pretended that nothing had happened, and continued to deal with Yachukas in a different direction. Kill you. Achukas became more and more angry, and the phantom began to take shape in his mouth. Swish. The dazzling white light shot out, directly penetrating Yizan's figure. Seeing this scene, the students who were watching from a distance exclaimed in disbelief. You missed, here I am. Yizan summoned Yachukas from behind, his eyes full of ridicule. I'm so tired, obviously it's just a trick. Why haven't the captains of Gote 13 come over yet? Are you really going to kill this guy? Yizan was a little undecided. At this time, Yachukas had realized that he couldn't beat Yizan, and began to turn his attacks on the students hiding in the distance. The scene turned into Yizan chasing behind Yachukas in a blink of an eye. Those students hadn't figured out what was going on, but a dark shadow flashed by, and the slowest runner was about to sing a ghost. The body has been rolled into the air. It's Achuka's tongue. Until then, those students who thought they were far enough away knew that such a distance was far from enough. Swish. The yuhi-colored blade pierced through the void, severing the tongue as easily as cutting tofu. The trapped man fell to the ground, still not understanding what happened. Yachukas withdrew the remaining half of his tongue in pain, covered his mouth, and looked at Yizan with some timidity in his eyes. Easily cut off by this guy's Zanpakuto. It's scared and regretful. I regret why I came to Jingling Court by being smart. He is not a stupid Killian. It is a matter of course for him to retreat when he encounters a strong man. It just wants to run away now. The wall of iron sand, the tower in the shape of a monk, the glowing iron glowing, because of its firmness, it is finally silent. The 75th of the bondage, the 5 Jinchuriki column iron penetration. As Yizan sang, the 5 giant iron Jinchuriki column appeared out of thin air, and Yachukas fell to the ground and was smashed to the ground. To kill, or not to kill? Yizan held Zanpakuto with a little hesitation. Anyway, Yachukas has already caught it, or else, pretend to be very difficult, and then drag it to another captain. As this, being knocked down, Hayakazuki stared blankly at the scene in front of him. Was held down by the 5 iron Jinchuriki column, couldn't move. It was only his power. Although he is still a student, even the captain may not have this kind of power. You think you can hit me like this? Yachukas said hoarsely. Impossible. Ah. With a roar, Yizan saw it split from the middle and a pair of skinless claws wriggled out from the inside, and then another claws. The standard action before the big boss comes out. Under normal circumstances, everyone must be foolishly watching this guy shed his skin, and then foolishly being beaten by something drilled out of it. But, is Yizan an ordinary person? Of course not. I saw him put his hands together, quickly hand seal, and at the same time began to sing. Mask of flesh, all phenomena, flapping wings, whoever bears the name of man, carve the double lotus on the wall of fire, and between the distant sky waiting for the abyss of fire. 73 of the broken paths, Shuanglian Kingwo. The blue ultra-high temperature flame was formed in Yizan's hands, and under the support of his own powerful spiritual power, it continuously rushed towards Yachukas's cracked heart. Chapter 33 After the battle. Is he dead? The firelight dissipated. Kuchiki Byakuya looked at Kuchi, who was burned to a pile of coke, his face full of shock. Only he who was closest to Yizan knew how powerful the Shuanglian cannon he used just now was. It can be called the strongest Shuanglian cannon he has ever seen. I can't justify it if I don't die. Yizan gasped. His acting skills soared to the highest point, and he looked like he would fall down at any time if he used up his spiritual power. I didn't expect that there are still such powerful existences among Mao's students. The 3 gods of death in Captain Yuri arrived late. Sure enough, it's you. Fengchao Lujiro didn't show any expression of Renhi's surprise after seeing Yizan. Good job. You are coming too slowly. It happened to be a meeting, but we rushed over as soon as we got the news. Oh, Byakuya is also there. Jingle Chunchui squatted down and looked at Shu, who was nailed to the ground and burned to death in a very miserable way. This is really so cruel. I never knew there was such a way to die. Pull this thing out of the virtual circle and show it. Those guys shouldn't dare to come back to the soul world. Hirako Mako nodded solemnly. It's a pity, it will disappear soon after death, and it almost transformed into Vastord. What a pity. Tisk tisk. Jingle Chunchui's tone was a little regretful. I didn't expect Xiao Xuanxuan to be such a brutal guy. Quote. Xiao Xuanxuan. What the hell? Yizan's forehead bulged with blue veins, waving Zanpakuto and rushing towards Jingle Chunchui. Of course, it was a joke. Yeah, you don't even know Shikai. I don't play with children. Jingle Chunchui used Zanpakuto to block Yizan's attack, with a very casual tone. Anyone injured? Hurry up and bring the injured over here. A woman with long black hair shuttled through the crowd. That's Ujawali, the captain of the 4th Division. He has good medical skills. How about it? Isn't he very beautiful? Jingle Chunchui whispered. If you are injured, I will send you there. Yizan nodded politely. Although there is no serious injury, but the spiritual power is overdrawn. Ah, I can't stand. Hurry up and send me there. Hurry up. Jingle Chunchui watched his exaggerated performance. The corners of his mouth twitched, too exaggerated. However, Kuchiki Byakuya was successfully deceived, so he helped Yizan and walked over there. Yizan took the opportunity to pour in the ecstasy soup. Brother Baizai, I knew you were a cold-hearted person. Brother Baizai, so many people were present, and in the end, only you came out to help me. I'm really touched. Brother Byakuya. Isn't the overdraft of spiritual power unable to speak? Yizan. Seeing Kuchiki Byakuya supporting Yizan over, everyone stepped aside. They all knew that it was Yizan who saved them. Byakuya, are you also injured? Ujawali was surprised to see them, and quickly handed over the work to the team members, got up to meet them. Yizan was dissatisfied that Maujawali didn't pay attention to himself, and said, Beauty, why did you only ask Baizai's younger brother and didn't ask me? It's obvious that I'm the one who is being supported, okay. Maujawali also noticed this situation, and quickly looked at Yizan, sorry. Where are you injured? Yizan was about to speak, but Kuchiki Byakuya helped him to say, prostration caused by excessive use of spiritual power. Ujawali looked at Byakuya's serious expression, and felt that he couldn't hold back. Listening to the tone of his voice, it doesn't look like collapse. That's because I have a good foundation. Yizan didn't expect the third younger brother, Baizai, to have such a straightforward personality, and covered his face feebly. We just experienced an arduous battle, defeating Hastet. It's Ichuka's. Anakare corrected lightly. Well, you are a beauty, I bear it. It's Ichuka's who almost evolved into Vastord. Byakuya is all right, why did you collapse? Maujawali obviously didn't want to entangle with Yizan, so he took a few bottles of potions from the medical box and threw them at him. Drink it. That's because it's me who has always contributed. Yizan stared at Kuchiki Byakuya, who didn't know how to retreat. Dead wood, it really is dead wood that cannot be carved. Why are you so blind? Okay, the medicine is given to you, we are very busy here. Maujawali began to chase people. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Yizan couldn't do anything, so he had to leave. Failed. Jingle Chunchui's flat voice rang in his ears again. Yizan gave him a white look and made up his mind to ignore it. ... Fifth grader kills Ijukas. In the evening, Aizen raised her eyebrows in surprise when she heard the nurse talk about it. When he was in the virtual circle, he found out that Inyachukas was caught as an ordinary virtual, but he just thought that it would be good to cause some trouble for the Soul Society. The soul of the god of death needed is far worse. When Akachis is in trouble, he can also take the opportunity to catch some death gods. I just didn't expect that Akukas was actually sent to Junyang when he was hospitalized. Yeah, that Achukas pretended to be normal, and it happened that today was the day of the 6th grader's first combat class, and was sent over. Now the leader of the Jing Band and the leader of the 12th Division are going to the 12th Division. Help check those false. I am careless, Aizen said in a low voice. Aizen 4.1 Captain, don't say that. We all know that the captain has been seriously injured in order to defeat Vastord. Akachis was mixed in the ordinary void, and no one found it. Ignoring and worshipping looked at Aizen. Fortunately, Yizan and Master Kuchiki were both present, and they also defeated Yachukas. Only the two closest to it at the beginning died. Great luck in misfortune. Yeah, good luck. Aizen smiled softly and touched Jinghua Shuiyu after the nurse left. The wound on her chest disappeared with the contact of Jinghua Shuiyu. Not only good luck, but also unexpected strength. When there was no one, Aizen lost the gentle smile on his face, and the glasses cast a shadow on his face, looking a bit deep and scary. Shigekuni Yamamoto. My little disciple, it's interesting. Quote. Chapter 34 Invitation from Aizen. Since Yizan killed Yachukas, his reputation in the school has completely surpassed Kuchiki Byakuya, leading the way. At the same time, more and more girls came to him to confess. I'm so distressed by this. Yizan frowned at the love letters and gifts that were almost crowding the table. It's a sweet burden to receive so many things every day. Brother Byakuya, don't you think so? Kuchiki Byakuya didn't say anything about Yizan's name, but just confirmed his words perfunctorily, and then opened the book. It's really boring. No wonder no one wrote you a love letter. Yizan laughed, opened a bag of chocolate and ate it. I heard that chocolate is the taste of love. Do you want to try it? You are so cold, big brother. I'm afraid you'll be a bachelor for the rest of your life. Byakuya Kuchiki. The taste of love. Yakiryu also wants to taste it. A glutinous child's voice sounded under the table. Why are you here? Yizan looked at Bachinliu, who was biting 30 fingers under the table in surprise. Seeing that she was wearing Junyang's girl's school uniform, he felt even more strange. Where's your dad? Yizan is a big liar. Bakion looked at Yizan with air. Captain Yamamoto said that Kenpachi is not married yet, and I am not Kenpachi's daughter, so I can't call him father. That stinky old man in Yamamoto is bad for me. Really? Then what should you call him? Bachinliu shook Yizan's hand vigorously. Give me the chocolate. I'll give it to you. Tell me, what's your relationship with Kenpachi? Yizan handed the rest of the chocolate in his hand to Bachinliu. You don't call it Zaraki Yachinliu now. It's the relationship between me and Kenpachi. Kenpachi said that I will be called Kasuka Bachianryu in the future. Bachianryu poured the chocolate into the bag, glanced at the lollipop on the table. That's also. Quote. Okay, take what you want yourself. Yizan waved his hands weakly, and a flash of light suddenly flashed in his mind. Do you know why Kenpachi brought you back? Why? Accept you as a child bride. Look, he can't find a wife like that. He raised you from childhood to adulthood and cultivated feelings. You can't despise him in the future. Oh, Bachinliu nodded seriously with a lollipop in his mouth. It's almost time for class. I'm leaving. Goodbye, Yizan. No sense of accomplishment. Yizan looked at her back and lay weakly on the table. I'm also heartbroken for the lifelong affairs of the younger brothers. Speaking of this, Ulquiorra seems to like Inoue Orihime in the original book. But at that time, the girl I liked, let's find another one for her. ... Yizan. Aizen called Yizan, who was about to walk on the road without squinting. Do you have time? Yes. Yizan nodded. Everyone was delivered to the door, and he certainly couldn't back down. But what to do with Aizen Yusuke, he hasn't figured out yet. It's so annoying. Every choice is tempting. Forget it, let's see the tricks. He can't escape my palm anyway. Yizan smiled. What is the vice captain of Aizen looking for me for? Achukas who attacked the students before was the mistake of our 5th division, because your timely shot did not cause more damage to Jingling Court. As the captain, I have to express my gratitude to you. Aizen said. He coughed twice, as if his old wounds were not healed. The reason is very tenable, and he also knows how to show weakness to win the favor of others. Talent, this is definitely a talent. No wonder everyone in the Soul Society in the original book was deceived. Thank you so much, that's what I should do. If you are free, why don't you come with me to the 5th Division? I invited you with the cheeky face at the strong request of the team members, so I have to give me face. Of course. Yi-zan nodded. 5th Division. Vice Captain is doing well. A girl with a watermelon head saw Aizen bringing someone back from a distance. She jumped up in excitement, grabbed Yi-zan's hand and walked inside. Brother Yi-zan, we have a banquet, just waiting for you. When I invite you back, you will forget me, Aizen said behind him, pretending to be angry. Where? We have reserved the position of the vice captain. But you have to be polite to the guests, don't you think? Hiriko Mako said with a smile and a very casual tone. Laughing, she is the 5-seat Hoshino Ayuko in the team. She jumped up and down to prepare this banquet. Lan Ran introduced to Yi-zan with a smile. I am the best bullied captain in the 13th episode. So get used to them being lawless one by one, don't take offense. In just a few words, the image of a gentle, generous and talkative vice captain is vividly portrayed. If Yi-zan still remembered the plot of the original book, he might have been deceived by this guy's appearance. Acting so well, this is not just about acting, but dual personality is the correct solution. The skill of the chefs of the 5th Division is still very good, and the taste is much better than the school's big pot rice. Yi-zan was having dinner surrounded by the girls of the 5th Division, and he was not satisfied with Satomi. Little brother Yi-zan, try this, our cook's best grilled fish. Ping Zishenzi ignored the mourning of the others, and very enthusiastically brought a large plate of grilled fish to Yi-zan. What is it called? Don't you understand the politeness of coming up to serve the guests first? Captain is too much. Eccentric, too eccentric. Captain, you are so biased, we will all follow the vice captain in the future. ... Because of a plate of grilled fish, everyone made a fuss. Seeing that the crowd was getting more and more excited, Aizen could only comfortably say, Okay, don't make any noise, let the cook make another serving if it's not enough. In the midst of this noise, Kazuki Hayara raised the wine glass in his hand to Yi-zan. For the last time, in addition to the captain's thanks to you, I also want to thank you. Yi-zan didn't recognize him at first, and it took a while to remember that there was such a 5th division and 7 seats at that time, but I forgot what it was called. It's still alive. No thanks, it's all right. Chapter 35_tentative. What's the matter with Deputy Captain Aizen calling me out? Yi-zan stopped in the corridor and didn't go any further. Aizen, who was walking in front, frowned slightly and put her hand on Zanpakuto on her waist. He had already used Jinghua Suzui when Yi-zan and Hoshino Ayuko were talking. Yi-zan should have been hypnotized by this time and had a good impression of himself. Some appropriate requests made by yourself should be agreed as a matter of course. How can you refuse? Maybe by accident. Lan Ran glanced at Yi-zan who was looking up at the sky. Maybe just stop and look at the sky. A hint of hesitation flashed in Aizen's eyes, but that didn't stop him from finding a topic. It's a beautiful night tonight. I can really talk. Yi-zan despised in his heart. So Captain Aizen finds out what's wrong with me. Is there anything I can't say in the hall? I've never been a very good person, so there's always a lot of admiration for a talent like you. Lan Ran pretended to be a Lixian corporal and wanted to talk to Yi-zan for a long time. Yi-zan felt goosebumps when he heard it. Genius. It's a bit exaggerated. Yi-zan continued to laugh, but he didn't answer. He just looked at Aizen and had to say something. Maybe Belegan spoke out about his existence. But even so, he had no proof that I was the one who defeated Balagan in the virtual circle. There is no household registration book in this Soul world, so he can't check the household registration. Ha ha. Your strength is very strong. The captain position of the 10th and 11th teams is still vacant. I am looking forward to your performance. Aizen still smiled, honest and honest. Then I'll borrow your auspicious words. Yizan nodded. So Captain Aizen's current behavior is to have a good relationship with his future colleagues. It is rumored that Captain Aizen is an honest old man, and it seems that the rumors are not entirely correct. Honest and honest. Me. Aizen Yusuke was surprised when he heard this, and there was just the right amount of embarrassment and confusion on his face. This description must be my teammates talking nonsense outside. It's too annoying. Embarrassed. Nevertheless, it's just as Captain Aizen wanted, isn't it? Yizan showed him a meaningful, knowing smile. I know the details of your fellow, don't think you can deceive me with your kindness. If I hadn't figured out what to do with you, a younger brother who is both ambitious and pretending to be a good person would be hard to control. It's too troublesome, I still have to think about it, and I can't do things that are not worthwhile. Yizan sighed deeply and said quietly, it's getting late, I should go back. Aizen was still thinking about what Yizan had just said with his slightly more complicated brain than ordinary people. The more he thought about it, the more inscrutable he felt. The purpose is not clear, and he is a young disciple of Yamamoto Shigekuni. These words may be the old man's temptation. Could it be that the arrangement of these years has been discovered? Lan Ran looked at Yizan with more and more suspicious eyes, which made Yizan feel a little embarrassed. After all, they haven't done anything yet, but I frightened him first. Thinking about it this way, it seems a bit too much. Boss, Aizen has a strong psychological quality. He didn't get angry, nor did he fight Yizan when he was excited. Instead, he nodded gently and echoed, as a student, it's really not good to go back to school too late. Good. This is the difference between bosses and mobs. Yizan thought with some emotion. Then I'll take my leave. The food of the 5th Division is delicious, thank you for the hospitality. I'll take you out. Aizen continued to smile gently, not seeing the surprise just now. They're all drunk, it's really rude. He laughed, and Yizan laughed too. It means they are happy to see me. It's great for you to think so. You can come here for a cup of tea in the future. Everyone likes you very much. Aizen calmly pushed open the hidden door. Be careful on the road. Goodbye. Yizan waved at him and turned to leave. His demeanor seemed calm, but in fact, every muscle on his body was tense, ready to be prepared for any attacks that Aizen might launch. It wasn't until he turned several alleys that he patted his chest and muttered to himself, "Oh, be a good boy, I'm afraid I won't be able to handle this kind of guy. No, I can't give up easily, this is the most powerful younger brother I've ever met, with both strength and wink, it's not the kind of words that can be condensed into a few words. It would be a shame to miss it. Forget it, leave it alone for now, when he builds Bengu, it will be a showdown, and if he can't use it for me, he will kill it." Yizan made up his mind and nodded with satisfaction. I heard that Captain Aizen invited you to dinner. Jingle Chunshui saw Yizan in the first team who was wiping sweat after a fight with Yamamoto Shigekuni. Yeah, what's the matter? Yizan raised his eyebrows and looked at him. Hearing the affirmative answer, Jingle Chunshui suddenly became excited. Did you introduce a girl to you? Why are you asking this? The 5th Division has the most beautiful girls, and they are all single. Ask what's wrong. Jingle Chunshui winked at Yizan. After Yi heard his words, Yizan's indifferent eyes suddenly became much deeper. Xiao actually misses the girl I've seen. Unforgivable. There are indeed many girls, but since they don't go to your 8th Division, they choose the 5th Division. I think this shows that they don't like you. Of course, they like me very much. Jingle Chunshui's face froze. So where did your confidence come from? Yizan pointed at himself proudly. Look at me, a young, handsome, high-profile genius who killed Yachukas to save his classmates. This is not called self-confidence, this is called statement of facts. You are very good, very good. Jingle Chunshui was so angry that Yizan was speechless, and after a while, he remembered that he had a vice captain named Lisa Yazumaru, young man, Washin will be punished. Girls hate it. Quote. I'm very focused on every girl. Yizan shook his head dashingly, but the leader of the Jing band, who no one loves, will not understand. For a popular person like me, this is such a rare experience. And great inclusion. Quote. Jingle Chunchui looked at his proud little expression, and suddenly didn't know what to say. Chapter 36 When you go out, you will encounter. Uncle Jingle, how do you feel now? Sifeng Yuan suddenly turned out the window at night and came in. Before he could stand still, the words of Schadenfreude had already been said. I do and think so. Jingle Chunchui shrugged. Miss Yaiki is now looking for Captain Yamamoto. No, I'm here to find him. Yi Yi pointed at Yizan with a proud look on his face. Looking for me? Yizan looked at Yi Yi suspiciously. After seeing so many beauties in the Soul Society, he was no longer the Yizan whose eyes were poisoned by the grotesque guys in the virtual circle. Yi Yi's figure is good, but her tanned skin and the kind of big sister's temperament. I still like girls who are soft and cute, and good-looking, even if they are not so good, it doesn't matter. Or like Liza Yahomaru, who looks serious, but is actually innocent and shy. The person in front of him couldn't bear it. Yizan silently crossed out Sifeng Yuan Yeyi's name from his strategy list, and asked earnestly, is there something wrong? Of course there is. Yi nodded. I heard that you and Bai Zai's younger brother 353 became friends, right? Correct me, I'm his eldest brother. It doesn't matter. Yi Yi waved his hand. The day after tomorrow is Bai Zai's younger brother's birthday. I have reserved a banquet at Runlinan, so come too. Birthday. Banquet. Yizan was taken aback. He never thought about the fact that people in the soul world would celebrate their birthdays. Why are you so surprised? Sifeng Yuan Yi Yi looked at him strangely, then slapped his thigh. You can't be jealous. Who's jealous? Why are you so excited? Yizan stared at her exaggerated manner. You didn't come from Liuhun Street. Of course you don't know your birthday, and it's normal to be jealous. Sifeng Yuan shrugged. Otherwise, you can find a date for your birthday, and then let your two senior brothers also for your birthday. ... Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Yizan. Happy birthday to Yizan ... Happy birthday, Yizan. After singing the birthday song, the old man Yamamoto cleared his throat. Shiruro Yukitaki and Chunchui Jingle were on either side of him, looking at him with burning eyes. ... Yizan's brain made up for such a scene, shook his head vigorously, and opened a 5-meter distance from Jingle Chunchui in an instant. I don't like birthdays. If a group of girls in bikinis sing my birthday song, that's a different story for the girls' sake. Jingle Chunchui turned to look at Yizan. Why did you run so far? Imagine you giving me a creepy birthday. Actually, you think too beautifully. Jingle Chunchui held up his bamboo hat. Did Yi Yisang only invite this kid? After all, I also watched Brother Byakuya grow up. For our young people, isn't it appropriate for the uncle to come? Sifeng Yuan Yi Yi looked at Jingle Chunchui with a funny look. You're here, isn't Bai Zai's grandfather coming too? Jingle Chunchui suddenly showed a shocked look. Could it be that in Yi Yisang's eyes, I am the same generation as Bai Zai's grandfather? Isn't it? Yi Yi looked at him with a funny look. Anyway, when I was very young, you were already the captain of the 8th Division. It's more than 800 years old. 800 years. Yizan glanced at Yi Yi, who was more than 800 years old, and then at Jingle Chunchui, whose age was a mystery, and couldn't help sighing in his heart. It's nice to be young. ... Bai Zai. Cheers. Sifeng Yuan hooked Bai Zai's head, desperately pouring wine for him. Look, you're a year older, and you're looking more and more like a little old man. Kuchiki Byakuya had a cold face and was poured another glass of wine by Yi Yi, got up and was about to leave, and was pulled back by Shiba Heian. It's a rare birthday, don't be so cold. Zibo Heian pressed Kuchiki Byakuya on the seat with a smile. I really miss the hot-tempered Byakuya from before. That's right. Yi held the bottle of wine. Obviously he was a noisy person since he was a child. Even if he pretends to be cold now, we grew up together, who doesn't know you? Seeing Kuchiki Byakuya staring at him, Yizan hurriedly raised his glass to hide the smile on his face. I can't see it at all. The younger brother Byakuya, who can't say 5 words a day, was actually a very lively person before. Quote. Lively. Kusaka Yakiryu stared at Kuchiki Byakuya seriously. He's called facial paralysis. When Yi heard this, he laughed exaggeratedly. He may have used up his liveliness in the previous years, and now he has changed his line of indifference. I wasn't used to it when he first started doing this. Now it's better. I miss the younger brother Byakuya, who used to be alive and kicking. Don't you have a birthday wish for your birthday? Little Byakuya, here's one. I need to remind you that today is Baizai's birthday, not yours. Zibo Heian looked helplessly at Yi Shuen Yuhi's face. I just drank a lot and got drunk. I'm so embarrassed to persuade people to drink. Who's drunk? That stupid big guy who fell asleep there is drunk. Yi said, patting the table. At this time, a scream suddenly sounded nearby, and then the shouting became more and more, and the panicked crowd quickly rushed to the outside of the izakaya where they were. Yizan vaguely heard them saying, false. At this time, there was another dull roar outside. Apparently the house had collapsed. How can you come across this stuff wherever you go? Show presence should also be stronger. What's going on outside? Noisy. Yi leaned on Baizai's shoulders with a dazed eye. What is? Virtual. Virtual. Where is the virtual? She finally reacted, straightened up suddenly, pulled out Zanpakuto and rushed out. Is she okay like this? Yizan stared blankly at her back. It's alright, let's follow along and have a look. Zibo Heian said, leaving them behind to chase Yi. Yo, Zibozang ran really fast. Yizan looked at his back. Chapter 37 Out of nothing. Obviously, there is another wife in the original book, and in order to avenge his wife, he singled out Dashu, and ended up killing himself. I can't think of it now that I care about the elder sister Yi. The pure friendship between a man and a woman is truly worth celebrating. The troublesome Shu was in the market not far from them. When Yizan and Kuchiki Byakuya arrived, Yi Ijung and it were inseparable. There was a circle of death gods around the edge. It was the 5th division led by Aizen. At this moment, he looked at Yi with a confused expression, and put his hand on his mirror. Why does Yizan know that what he sees is not virtual but Yi? Because of intuition. Otherwise, what would he do under the mirror? It was just a giant phantom, and there was no danger to Yi at all. He had only one purpose according to Jinghua Shuiyu, hypnotizing the god of death present, or Yi who is fighting with Phantom. Knowing that this guy is the villain, it's too bad that he can't tear his face. Yizan deliberately said to Baizai in a tone that Blue Ran could hear, Brother Baizai, I said that the leader of Blue Ran is also interested in the eldest sister, what do you think? Byakuya's whole body visibly stiffened, and then he went to look at Aizen, just in time to see Aizen's gaze withdrawing from Yaiki in a panic. It's a bit. Very good, no matter what Aizen wants to do, there is no chance now. Yizan nodded with satisfaction. After a while, Kuchiki Byakuya spoke again. If it was him, I could grudgingly agree. Yizan had a dazed expression on his face when he heard these mindless words. Who is it? What do you agree with? Aizen likes Yaiki. I'm just talking nonsense, do you believe this? Byakuya little brother, you are really white. Weird is that Aizen didn't come to deny it. Of course, this kind of thing, it's more serious when you deny it. That's not right, why do you have to reluctantly agree to Lan Ran who likes Yi? You don't agree with anyone who likes Yi. Yizan looked at Baizai curiously. It's incredible enough for someone to like her for a woman like the eldest sister Yi. No, this way of thinking has been misled by younger brother Baizai. Do you have a good impression of Aizen? He's an honest man. Kuchiki Byakuya finished speaking and gave Yizan a deep look. I disagree with who you said just now likes Yi. That person is you. That person is you. It's you. It's you. You. Byakuya, are you courting death? Yizan pulled out Zanpakuto. Come on, duel. As the price for your insulting me. I'm telling the truth, it's called an insult to have talent out of nothing. Yizan. Duel. Pull out your knife. Byakuya's figure moved, and in an instant he was far away. Dare to run. Yizan was the worst at finding someone to fight when his opponent ran away. Baizai's fighting spirit was instantly aroused when Baizai hid. The fourth way to bind this rope. Without even chanting, a rope-like light appeared in Yizan's hand, and under his control, it flew towards Kuchiki Byakuya. Just this thing still want to catch me. Baizai laughed heartily, killing Yi Xuanlei, who was accustomed to his calm personality. Kuchiki Byakuya, who has not yet become the captain, has not yet developed his character. Who said it couldn't be caught? Yizan hooked his finger, and another rope wrapped around his leg. Boy, learn it. Who told you that this rope can only be used with one rope? I learned. It's true that I was careless. Byakuya lowered his head, looking like he had given up. But is he someone who gives up so easily? Of course not. I saw that he suddenly squatted down and untied the rope at the moment when Yizan was relaxing, and then spun around behind Yizan. The thunderous carriage, the gap of the spinning wheel, this thing has light, and it is divided into 6. The 61 bondage, the 6-stick light prison. Yizan started to hide to the left when Baizai ran behind him, but it was too late. The 6 paths light sheet sprang out from under his feet, trapping him firmly in place, and it was really hard to break free for a while. However, would Yizan admit defeat like this? Of course not. Do you think you're the only one who can do this? Big brother will give you something gentle. 62 binding Dao, 100-step railing. As Yizan's words fell, a group of spiritual power gathered in his hand, and then shot out, turning into countless light rods in midair. Swish. When the first light rod fell, Kuchiki Byakuya avoided. Swish. The second, third, and fourth, he also avoided it quite easily. After that, more and more light rods fell in the air, and finally they were so dense that he couldn't escape and could only be trapped in the middle. Now we're even. Yizan easily broke free because Baizai was distracted just now, and the 6-stick light prison, which had faintly collapsed, walked triumphantly to the trapped Baizai. You said, I like Yi, do you agree? Byakuya sneered, I disagree. Speak well, or I'll hit you, eldest brother. It's clearly me and Shu fighting, why are you playing better than me? After a battle, most of Yi's alcohol smell has dissipated, which will make his mind very clear. She looked at Kuchiki Byakuya, who was trapped by Yizan, and wondered, who likes me? I didn't hear it just now. Baizai. Yizan raised his hand and blatantly sold him in Baizai's unbelievable eyes. I told him just now that Captain Aizen has been staring at you, maybe because he is interested in you, he will angry. Really? The expression on Yi's face was obviously disbelieving. Yizan nodded affirmatively, of course. Fake, Byakuya answered calmly. Yizan. Don't dare to admit it. I just said that Captain Aizen likes Yaiki, isn't you the one who reluctantly agrees? Go after him if you like it. Baizai looked at Yizan in shock, as if he couldn't understand how he could be so right and wrong. I'm because you're too fussy. You are obviously jealous. Yizan smiled and stretched out his hand to rub his face. I am loved by everyone, and all the girls like me. Say, are you jealous of me? You think too much. Chapter 38-Phantom of the Earthbound. They are really energetic. Baizai's facial paralysis kung fu doesn't seem to be at home, so it's broken. Zibo Heian and Yi sat on the side of the road, with the wine and side dishes they had just brought to the izakaya. Brother Yizan is very interesting. Yi looked at Yizan who was fighting with Kuchiki Byakuya, and threw a peanut into his mouth. Zibo Heian and Yizan only met for the first time, so they just nodded and didn't express any thoughts. I always feel that he may change the world of corpses and souls. It doesn't matter, there are only 2 brothers left in the family, and there is nothing to lose. Don't you want to support Zibo's family? Yi frowned at Zibo Heian. Just living with my younger brother outside Jingling Court and becoming an ordinary person. Or else, I won't go back to that place of harm. You can't say that, although you don't know what's going on, but... Don't say it anymore. Zibo Heian interrupted Sifeng-Yuan Ye's words. Mentioning this kind of thing will only remind me. The 4 major families now annexed our Zibo family's things. This is a fact, but Sifeng-Yuan Ye has seen the family heirlooms belonging to Zibo's family at home, ghost ways, training methods, and the results of their years of research on the spirit of words. It is really understandable to say that the current 4 major families have annexed the Zibo family. You should think about it again. Yi could only say that at the end. I heard that in the next week's practice class, the teacher will take us to the world. Going to the world, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I don't know what the world is like. I heard that it is to purify the undead, and maybe you will encounter the news that it has become an earthbound spirit because it is not purified in time. Sounds a little scary. With the 6th grade, I feel that those seniors are not as reliable as Yi Xuanlai. You cowards, haven't you even seen Shu before? It's just a mere spirit binding. You don't want to say you're going to meet one, do you? Stop blowing, don't freak out. Anyway, just follow Yizan closely. As soon as Yizan entered the classroom, many people immediately gathered around them, most of them were girls. I'm going with Yizan, will Yizan protect us? Yes, Yizan said it very powerfully. But there can only be 5 people in a group, what should I do? Seeing that the smell of gunpowder was getting stronger and stronger, Yizan quickly interrupted them. Say it again, it's going to be a fight. I still don't know what happened, who can explain it to me? What are they doing around me? When the girls heard it, they all stopped, and began to tell Yizan that the teacher had just come to inform him that the next week's practice class was going to the world. Oh, Yizan nodded and sat down in his seat, but so many of you have to team up with me, no matter which one I'm willing to hurt. It's okay, Yizan, we will solve it ourselves. Yeah, I'll never let you embarrassed. The girls chirped and assured him. But I already know about this. Yizan frowned in embarrassment. Even if you say that, I still feel bad about it. By the way, how did you know that you were going to form a team? Hey, isn't that the case? The girls lengthened their voices in surprise and looked at each other. So you don't know either. Yizan looked at their dumbfounded expressions speechlessly. Don't worry, beautiful girls, even if I don't go with you, as long as you are in danger, I will arrive in time. They go into the world just to carry out the task of transcending the soul, so there is no righteous Mukuro assigned. Just spread out activities in various areas. It turned out to be a random group action. There is no fixed number of people, it is simply too perfect. Yizan walked towards the girls with a look of contempt in Kuchiki Byakuya's eyes. Don't look at me like that, you know, I'm also for the harmony of the class. If it's a team of 5 people, it's almost predictable that the girls fight for me. It's so cruel. As a man who has fascinated thousands of girls, this is something to be proud of. Then, Yizan saw Bai Zai's serious expression cracked. There are soul fluctuations over there, let's go take a look. A girl suddenly ran forward, and the others followed. Yizan also followed after seeing this. Zanpakuto were the only ones who could purify these spirits in the 5th grade. The other boys watched Yizan surrounded by girls, and took the time to pull Kuchiki Byakuya away. Pull, this is just an adjective, in fact, it was they who begged Kuchiki Byakuya. Otherwise, a mighty wave of people will run to purify the spiritual body and let others know, and they will not laugh at the big Kiba. Kuchiki Byakuya also didn't like to stay with a group of noisy girls, and he couldn't understand how Yizan could have a good time among a group of chattering women. So as soon as the boys in the class called him, he left without any hesitation. After passing a few obsessive spiritual bodies on the side of the road and receiving countless praises from the girls, Yizan walked into an alley with induction. It was no more than an ordinary alley, and the appearance didn't look abnormal, but the moment his legs stepped in, Yi-zan realized that 4.7 was wrong. "Everyone be careful." Roaring these words, he looked around. Except for a few girls who were closely following him, the others who were farther away were gone. "No, it's not that they're gone, it's that we are gone." Yi-zan retreated to the alley. There was no one outside, and the street where people came and went just now was dead silent. This should be some kind of phantom array. You stay together, don't run around no matter what you see. Since Yi-zan came to Soul World, it was the first time he encountered such a situation, and he became more and more careful. It is written in the textbook on spirits of the True Spiritual Academy that some earthbound spirits with strong obsessions are even more difficult to deal with than Killian and Achukas. Chapter 39_Similar skills. The strong obsession of the earthbound spirit will change the space, and even construct an illusion. And it is lurking in the illusion, waiting for an opportunity to attack. Generally speaking, this kind of spiritual body is infinitely close to the void, and it is an existence that can only be killed but cannot be surpassed. It's so quiet here. Yeah, before I came, I specifically asked the seniors, and they all said that the spiritual bodies in this world are very weak, and they have performed several missions without encountering danger. I didn't expect that we would encounter such a powerful thing the first time we came here. The three girls who stepped in with Yi-zan were close to each other, holding a shallow punch in their hands, but they were not very afraid, and they were still in the mood to chat and talk there. In their opinion, Yi-zan, who can kill Achukas, is undoubtedly a very powerful existence. Since even Achukas can be killed, the mere earthbound spirits are not to mention. Finally, the soul has come in again. It looks delicious. A shrill voice sounded from the depths of the alley. "Why don't you come in? Are you afraid? It's you who are too scared to come out, not us." Yi-zan stood at the entrance of the alley with his arms crossed, but he didn't go inside. Since the triggering of the illusion, other places have only been quieter. Other aspects seem to be normal in the past 30 years, but the alley is completely dark. Who knows what's in there? What if you walk and step on a puddle of blood, a pile of meat, or just about anything disgusting? Or halfway through, the earthbound spirit suddenly appeared from behind, shining like a ghost movie. Yi-zan is very strong, but he doesn't appreciate this kind of unpleasant behavior. Anyway, there is no reward, and there is no girl waiting to be rescued. You should come out quickly, or I'll be welcome. You're afraid of me. You're afraid of me. The sound from the depths of the alley became more and more eerie. Yi-zan snorted. "Since you didn't come out, I had no choice but to grab you out." The ninth tyranny of the Tao, collapse the wheel. Countless yellow rope-shaped spirits sprang out from Yi-zan's fingertips, heading straight for the darkness of the alley. After a while, the rope still found nothing. If Yi-zan is alone, he doesn't care, it's good to see the tricks. But there were still 3 girls present, and he was responsible for their safety, so it was inevitable that he would be a little tied up. This is very difficult. Yi-zan felt a little headache. It's not a solution if this thing doesn't come out all the time. I'll go in and take a look. I'll try my best to entangle this earthbound spirit. You guys will be careful for a while. Seeing the girls nodded in agreement, Yi-zan walked into the alley. I really didn't want to take such a road that I didn't know what would happen. Yi-zan sighed, but pulled out Zanpakuto and walked in. At the same time, outside the fantasy world. Where are they, people? Only a few steps behind Yi-zan and the others, in a blink of an eye, the girls who were walking in front of them had disappeared, acting even more frightened than the 3 girls who were trapped in the illusion with Yi-zan. No, don't know. It was there just now, wasn't it? What's going on? That spiritual power fluctuation has also disappeared. Hurry up and report to the teacher. But the teacher is not as good as Yi-zan. One of the girls said weakly. Even if that's true, then we can't just stand, we have to do something. Then let's report it to the teacher. Everyone's opinion reached a consensus, and the action soon began. Inside the illusion, Yizan slowly walked in the dark alley. The doors and windows on both sides reflected light again and again as he walked by. How many times did he think something would pop out of it? He wanted to get out of the feeling of walking in a leisurely court, but he tried hard, but he still couldn't do it. Even if he knew that this earthbound spirit was nowhere near as strong, the psychological pressure and tension made him very uncomfortable. Finally the soul has come again. Come to me, I can give you everything you want. Money, house, strength, women. Everything. Yizan sneered, unmoved. Since you have everything you want, why are you still huddled in such a dark corner? That's because I can't leave yet. The sound came from behind a door. Yizan pushed open the door, and the earthbound spirit inside suddenly raised his head and let out a loud roar at him. The bluish-white skin, huge eyes like light bulbs, and sharp kiba teeth on his mouth were all displayed in front of Yizan. It looks like he has eaten other souls. Yizan slapped the handle of the knife, really didn't want to press his zanpakudo on the head of this ugly thing. It is for these guys who can no longer be called human beings, it should be a blade. Do you want a woman? The earthbound spirit let out a terrifying laugh, waved his hand, and the three girls who came in with Yizan suddenly appeared in the room, taking off their clothes one by one. This is a bit embarrassing. Yizan shook his head. It's too fake. As his voice fell, the phantoms of the three girls disappeared without a trace. 947 inches. Let me see. See what you want. The earthbound spirit gradually retreated, but the light bulb-like eyes were always staring at Yizan. Ambition. What a powerful ambition. It suddenly let out a scream and began to break free from the chains on its body. The hole in his chest was already the size of a fist, and it was only a matter of time before it became empty. So now, kill him, or let him go to the virtual circle. The ability of the illusion can penetrate people's hearts. Such power is very similar to Aizen's Jinghua Shuiyu. Yizan thought about it this way, and suddenly thought that he is also the king of the virtual circle, and this guy may be able to be a subordinate in the future. I only need one knife to kill you. The reason why I haven't killed you is because I think you are still a little interesting. You are too arrogant. There's no way, if the strength is here, I have the arrogant capital. And you can only be obedient. The zanpakudo in Yizan's hand flicked threateningly. What do you think? Before the others come, you break the chain and go to the virtual circle. Yizan said lightly, if you can't do it, it's a pity, I can only kill you. Chapter 40 actually reached the virtual circle. Aren't you going to purify me? The earthbound spirit let out a long, suspicious sigh. Don't you all say that the god of death wants to save us and become Buddhas? No, I think with your talent, there is a future for you to go to the soul world as a virtual figure. Yizan chuckled. Hurry up, don't ink it. Wait a minute, if someone comes and you can't run away, I'll kill you with one strike. I like this character. The earthbound spirit let out a crunching laughter like an old machine running, and Claus pulled the chain around his heart. Do you want to hear my story? Not interested. Yizan coldly turned to Byakugan. The villain died of too much talk. He brewed up the idea of confining, and was about to chat with the man in front of him who he admired about his past, but the earthbound spirit who was interrupted before he spoke. Yizan, how are you over there? A girl's questioning voice came from outside the alley. This guy's demonic illusion is very powerful, don't come in. Yizan responded loudly, and then gave the bound spirit a blank look. Wait, people outside should call the teacher or the god of death stationed in this world to come in. If you want to die, you can take advantage of the last time before you die to recall your boring and short life. There is no so-called obsession. Quote. The earthbound spirit looked at Yizan who said these words in amazement. Too vicious. Outside the phantom. It's here. A few girls led the teacher leading the team to the entrance of the alley. They were just in front of us, and they disappeared in a blink of an eye. The teacher stretched out his hand to try it out, and sure enough, he found that the fingers that reached the alley were slightly twisted in the light. It's an earthbound spirit who knows demonic illusion. The teacher looked serious. Everyone has something to desire and something to fear, even the strong. There are many powerful gods of death in history who fell into danger because they encountered the demonic illusion. If it's demonic illusion that can see through people's hearts, it's inevitable that people will lose their minds. Yizan is very powerful, he must be fine, a girl said. Of course, he can even defeat Achukas, not to mention this is just an earthbound spirit. More than that, he also used a red cannon that day, brushed it, and the fireball flew past like this, and one of the holes was pierced. There were more than a dozen holes that day. The girl with short hair, he held his heart in both hands, his eyes lit up, and he was very excited at first sight. That's not the same. Those are ordinary illusions. Yachukas is also the type who is good at disguising. This time, he will be demonic illusion. The teacher looked at the deep alley with a solemn expression. Strange. That won't work, but I decided to go in and have a look anyway. As soon as he finished speaking, he heard a shrill howl coming from the depths of the alley. Everyone present felt a splitting headache and covered their ears. What's that sound? Achukas. The teacher's eyes widened, he ran into the alley, and pulled out his zanpakuto. But it was too late. How is that possible? Doesn't it mean that the earthbound spirit first transforms into the void, and then the void consumes more void and soul, and it will become stronger and gradually upgrade to Yachukas? Look, you didn't study hard in class. When some powerful earthbound spirits become illusory, they are Yachukas. Although there are not many, it is not that they have not experienced them. Several girls still do not understand the seriousness of the matter. In their opinion, it was too easy for Yizan to kill Achukas. At this time, the illusion has been lifted, and the three girls who fell into the illusion together with Yizan, and guarded at the entrance of the alley in the illusion together under his advice, found that they were actually standing in the middle of the alley without realizing it, and Yizan was there. 10 meters away from them. This is nothing, but behind Yizan, the chain of cause and effect is completely broken, and his face is covered with an ugly and hideous bone mask, and the appearance is extremely ugly. Yizan, be careful behind. They turned pale with fright, seeing that Yizan was caught by Shu behind him but did not respond, so frightened that their hearts jumped out. The earthbound spirit, who had completely transformed into a void, was about to leave the void cave, and when he saw someone coming, he even grabbed Yizan directly. Yizan. Yizan was shocked, he didn't understand why this guy grabbed him at this time, afraid of doing it himself. He was about to pull out Zanpakuto when he felt a blackness in front of him, and then opened his eyes to see the endless white sand in front of him. Call _. The gust of wind blew, and the raised white sand flew into the air, and then drifted down like snow. The virtual circle, at least there is no doubt about this. Tell me, this is an illusion. Yizan pressed the huge claws of the virtual, with a look of wind and rain on his face. I was still in the human world just now. What is this? Of course it's a virtual circle. The big false one who had just transformed into Yachukas gave Yizan a mocking look. This is a virtual circle, do you want to fight with me? It feels that since it has become Akukas, with its demonic illusion and demagogic ability, it is not easy to deal with such a student who has not yet become a god of death. It was just a temporary stopgap measure, and now that its strength has improved so much, it makes no sense to be afraid of every little bit. If you eat him, combine his spiritual power and memory. Why, do you think I can't fight with you in the virtual circle? Yizan sneered at Yachukas who didn't know whether to call it naive or cunning. What are you thinking? Let me take a guess. How are you thinking about eating me, assimilating me? Hey, Yachukas made an angry sound, without denying Yizan's words. His self-confidence has grown exponentially now, and he only feels that he is invincible in the world. Not to mention defeating this guy in front of him, it is not impossible to unify the virtual circle. Not a problem at all. I don't even want to find out who I am. Yizan shook his head helplessly. It's also strange. Obviously the younger brother and my subordinates that I like are not particularly stupid people, why are they all exposed as soon as they are ready to accept them? Stupid, Lu Ji, no wink, and now there is another self-confidence. Big idiot. It's just a bit of a strong death god, what's the big deal? Yachuka snorted disdainfully, and howled up to the sky.